Liu sect was eradicated within a day. The Bailing Mountains were obliterated from the surface, leaving not a single peak in sight. This event sent shockwaves through the realm of cultivators. Chapter 22. Establishing authority. A day later, Ji Xian and his companions exited Jinzhou, arriving at the southern border. This region is dotted with small nations, their power dynamics intricate and convoluted. Following the directions of a station attendant, Ji Xian's group located the assembly hall of the 100 Sects. It stood as a 5-story stone and wooden structure, rising majestically atop the defensive city walls thousands of miles above the southern border, facing southward and gazing over the boundless plains below. Ji Xian strode into the council hall accompanied by his 2 disciples, only to discover that the room was already filled with people. "Why have you arrived late these past few days?" As Ji Xian was about to find a seat, he was met with the inquiry of an elder seated at the highest throne, adorned in battle armor. The elder, with a mane of white hair and a face lined with age yet exuding a certain martial vigor, was none other than Fang Kuei, the leader of the 100 Clans Alliance. Beside him stood a formidable battle knife, radiating an aura of exceptional quality. 6th level of the spirit refining realm, Ji Xian thought. Slightly taken aback, he then extended his consciousness to encompass the entire hall, quickly discerning that this elder possessed the highest cultivation level among those present. Ji Xian of the Qingyuan sect, greetings to the alliance leader, Ji Xian said, cupping his hands in respect and bowing lightly. He continued, "I encountered some hidden demonic forces within Jinzhou on my way here and took the liberty of eliminating them, which delayed my arrival." As he spoke, Ji Xian summoned the Hanyuan celestial mirror. In a flash of brilliant light, the bound high priest of the Nanzhao appeared before the assembly. This is the high priest of Nanzhao, the commander of the enemy's shamanic forces. What an extraordinary feat. Before the battle has even commenced, we have captured their commander. Surely, this battle will be ours, murmured the cultivators on either side. At that moment, a middle-aged man with a trimmed beard stepped forth from beside the alliance leader, holding a jade flute and a green gourd at his waist. "My friend, what audacity. You have captured their commander. Please hand him over for processing by the alliance." Ji Xian cast a meaningful glance at the man before shifting his gaze back to the alliance leader. The leader, his eyes half closed, showed no reaction. "Why?" Ji Xian inquired, prompting the middle-aged man to momentarily falter, anger flickering across his face. "Are you questioning me? This is an order from the alliance. You are obliged to hand over the captured commander." Ji Xian smiled radiantly and waved his hand dismissively. "Gentlemen, to speak candidly, this individual was not captured by me, but by a senior from Jinzhou who entrusted him to me. Please perceive his cultivation level." With a flick of his finger, Ji Xian unsealed the high priest's dantian. An overwhelming aura surged forth. He is, in fact, a perfected spirit infant realm cultivator, a priest specializing in thunder magic. I can feel his energy making my chest tighten. Had the alliance leader not been present, we would have been annihilated. The revelation of the high priest's cultivation level stirred a tempest of awe among the assembled cultivators. Who could have possibly captured such a figure? Disregarding the murmurs of the crowd, Ji Xian produced a sharp blade from the void. "Colleagues, please heed my words. This individual was defeated by a senior from Jinzhou and handed over to me. That esteemed elder, upon hearing of the dire circumstances at the front lines, ordered me to publicly execute him to boost the morale of our allied forces." With that, Ji Xian raised the sword high, preparing to strike down. "Stop!" The middle-aged man beside the alliance leader shouted. Yet Ji Xian did not relent. A swift arc sliced through the air, and a bloodied head soared upward, landing upon the ground. At this moment, the leader slowly opened his eyes, meticulously scrutinizing Ji Xian. After digesting Ji Xian's words, he contemplated the experts in the divine refinement realm from Jinzhou and its surrounding factions, and his understanding deepened. "You," the middle-aged man exclaimed, exasperated. "Fellow Taoist, you have gone too far." Ji Xian replied in an unperturbed manner. "I sacrificed this individual for the smooth deployment of our friends from various sects. Where lies the fault in that?" The middle-aged man cast a sidelong glance at the leader, realizing that the latter showed no signs of protest, thus acknowledging the impulsiveness of his actions. He reined in his emotions, striving to maintain a calm demeanor as he inquired, "Fellow Taoist, you have slain him without extracting the necessary intelligence. Rest assured, everyone, this individual is a South Zhao cultivator operating undercover in Jinzhou, having confined his activities to the inner circles for many years. He possesses knowledge only of the distribution of minor demonic factions within Jinzhou, and I have already entrusted his handling to other sections. I believe it will not be long before the demonic forces associated with Jinzhou and South Zhao are purged." The middle-aged man wished to say more, but was abruptly interrupted by Ji Xian. "And may I ask your name and the faction you represent?" "Chen Hong of Tianluo City." The middle-aged man retorted with a roll of his eyes. "I have met you, fellow Taoist Chun," Ji Xian replied with a cheerful smile. Fish, come bite the hook." He mused inwardly, as many of his suspicions had been confirmed. "Well then, let us not linger on unnecessary talk. Let us arrange the subsequent actions," the leader declared as he rose. As Chun Hong departed, he glanced at the leader, a flicker of confusion crossing his eyes. Soon after, Ji Xian found his seat next to Lu Yi, the leader of the Qingyuan sect. "Greetings, fellow Taoist. You have grown stronger, Lu Yi remarked. The last time Ji Xian had been at the Qingyuan sect, the aura of the divine infant realm was still quite apparent around him. Now, however, Ji Xian exuded an inscrutable depth, one that was impossible to fathom. Ji Xian smiled gracefully. You flatter me, fellow Taoist. After a moment, Chen Hong began to outline the agenda for the meeting. Following our recent battle, we have suffered repeated defeats, and many areas near the city walls have been invaded by South Xiao. Fortunately, through the collective efforts of our sects, the situation has not worsened. With only a few remaining infiltrators at the grassroots level, we gather here today to allocate the cleansing tasks for these regions. He gestured to a map, revealing a total of 113 areas, including but not limited to small nations, towns, and mid-sized sections. Colleagues, please feel free to choose your respective locations. Ji Xian examined the map behind Chen Hong, carefully contemplating the formations depicted. This is... Ji Xian noticed a marked location on the map indicating a South Zhao demonic infiltration point, surprisingly labeled as the Fire Nation. This was becoming increasingly intriguing. He cast a sidelong glance at Huolinger. Linger, do you miss home? Upon hearing Ji Xian's words, Huolinger's beautiful eyes dimmed, seemingly engulfed in sorrow. Seeing this, Ji Xian did not hesitate. He stood up and submitted a request, departing with his two disciples. The Lord of the Grand Hall observed the departing figure of Ji Xian, a hint of a smile gracing his lips. The next destination, the Eastern Wilderness Fire Nation. Chapter 23. The Fire Nation, the spiritual vessel, flashed across the sky, leaving behind trails of azure remnants. Master, the colossal city ahead is the imperial capital of the Fire Nation, exclaimed Huolinger, her beautiful eyes sparkling as she pointed toward a city nestled behind a mountain range. Ji Xian followed her gaze, beholding a magnificent city perched upon the mountainside, fortified by the treacherous peaks behind it. Its geographical layout bore resemblance to that of the Qingyuan sect, yet the scale of the Fire Nation's capital far exceeded that of Qingyuan. Ji Xian's gaze sharpened as his vast divine consciousness expanded outward in a spherical form, reaching several thousand miles before halting. This was sufficient to encompass the entirety of the Fire Nation's capital. He detected 37 individuals at the Divine Infant Realm and one at the Half-Step Refining Spirit Realm, alongside 3 conspicuous strongholds of demonic influence, with others concealed in the shadows. Gazing at the faint fluctuations of spiritual energy emanating from within the city, Ji Xian remarked, if my memory serves me right, the Fire Nation also falls within the boundaries of the Border Alliance, does it not? Indeed, Huolinger affirmed. While the 100 sects of Jinzhou are in proximity to the southern New Continent, they do not directly overlap. Between them lies a narrow corridor, which serves as a passage for various powers along the border. This region is predominantly populated by trade cities of significant importance, prompting various factions to unite with the 100 sects in resisting the South, with the Fire Nation being among them. Ji Xian nodded, gaining a deeper understanding of the border factions. Moments later, the group entered the city. Observing the vibrant atmosphere of the bustling streets, Ji Xian found himself lost in thought. This was his first experience wandering through a mortal marketplace since arriving in this world. He promptly resolved to seek out an inn for a much-needed respite, as the trio had been tirelessly traveling for half a month with little rest. Soon, guided by Huolinger's recommendations, they discovered an establishment named the Drunken Immortal Pavilion. Upon entering, Ji Xian was struck by the elegant and ancient decor, exuding an air of opulence. The patrons were predominantly nobles and affluent young lords. Ji Xian tossed a pouch of spirit stones, and the attendant promptly escorted them to a private room. Inside, the room was adorned with exquisite flowers, and the dishes presented were a feast for the eyes, tantalizingly beautiful. Just as Ji Xian and his companions were enjoying their drinks, a commotion erupted outside their private chamber. I am not affiliated with the 7th Prince's faction at all. What on earth do you want from me? A furious male voice could be heard, berating an unseen adversary. The 17th Prince, the words are not yours to dictate. We possess ample evidence of your visit to the 7th Prince's chamber yesterday for a lengthy discussion. Another male voice retorted, its tone unyielding. How dare you? The 7th Prince is my elder brother. Am I not allowed to simply share a cup of tea with him? The 17th Prince spat back in rage. The 1st Prince is also your brother. Why do you not seek him instead? Came the sharp retort. How dare you? The 17th Prince cursed vehemently. Huolinger, seated in the private room, appeared entranced by the exchange. Ji Xian noticed her expression and inquired, what is it? Do you recognize them? Indeed, master. The 17th Prince is my elder brother, and I am the 19th. She paused, contemplating, perhaps I should handle this myself. Ji Xian raised his wine cup and took a delicate sip. It was merely a dispute among the younger generation. Huolinger pushed open the door to the elegant chamber and stepped out, sword in hand. 19th sister, what brings you here? She inquired. I have successfully completed my apprenticeship and returned to visit all the royal family members. I have come to pay my respects to the 19th princess. The man replied as he knelt. Why are you pursuing my 17th brother? Huolinger asked, replying to the princess. The 17th prince chose the wrong side and must naturally be taught a lesson. Came the response. Choosing sides? Huolinger questioned, perplexed. At that moment, the 17th prince suddenly stood and embraced Huoling. 19th sister, you cannot possibly be unaware that as soon as father fell ill, Eldest brother and seventh brother started to raise swords against one another in a fierce struggle for the throne. After expressing his grievances, the 17th prince shed tears, as if his heart was burdened with countless injustices. Horlinger contemplated for a moment. You treacherous servants are truly audacious. Just because you have the backing of the eldest prince, you dare to lay hands on the esteemed 17th brother? If I report this to father, you shall all face execution. Horlinger's tone was exceptionally stern, laced with anger. Yet, the individuals before her showed no signs of yielding. If that is the case, it appears we could interpret your stance as siding with the 17th prince, 19th princess. So what if I do? Horlinger asserted with unwavering conviction. Then do not blame us for being impolite. Forgive us, princess. Boldly, the clash of weapons echoed through the air. In just a few exchanges, heavy thuds were heard, and blood was shed. Spare your lives and leave at once. Horlinger bellowed. We shall see. Soon after, the sound of retreating footsteps faded away. Ji Xian, separated by the wall of the elegant chamber, listened intently to the unfolding events. Moments later, the door swung open, and Horlinger entered, supporting a plump young man clad in a yellow dragon robe, adorned with a golden hairpin. Yet, he appeared disheveled, his attire dusty and somewhat in disarray, giving him a rather pitiful aspect. Who are these two? The 17th prince scrutinized the newcomers, puzzled. One was a young man in white, seated gracefully at the table, sipping fine wine, his eyes half closed, breathing evenly, exuding an air of tranquility and detachment. The other was a dark-skinned youth in gray, his eyes bright and spirited, using spiritual energy to levitate several plates, devouring food with reckless abandon. Horlinger felt a twinge of embarrassment. This is my master, Ji Xian, she introduced. Ji Xian set down his cup and offered a gentle smile. I am her junior disciple, Ling Yun. Ling Yun exclaimed, downing a bowl of wine and letting out a contented belch. I have met both Ji Xian and brother Ling. I am Huainan, the 17th brother of Huoling. The 17th prince said as he bowed respectfully. Horlinger helped the 17th prince to a seat. 17th brother, how is our mother faring? Horlinger asked with urgency. Sigh. During the days of your disappearance, the 19th empress did not eat for several days, her health deteriorating rapidly, coupled with her pre-existing illness. Her condition could not withstand much longer. What is her current state? Horlinger's eyes brimmed with tears, on the verge of breaking into sobs. Since the eldest prince sent a blood-red jade, the situation has begun to improve. Every day, the 19th lady nourished her body with the precious blood jade, and recently, she had improved significantly, able to walk on her own. Let us speak of that blood-red jade, Ji Xian remarked, setting down his wine cup. The 17th prince hesitated, gazing at Horlinger's face, seemingly at a loss for words. Do not worry, my esteemed master has come to fulfill a patrol duty assigned to the southern front. He possesses remarkable abilities and may very well be able to cure my mother. Horlinger assured the 17th prince, gripping his hand tightly. Rest assured, I shall not interfere with your royal matters. Ji Xian gently responded, lightly tapping the wine cup. Chapter 24. A new clue regarding the blood jade. The 17th prince scrutinized Ji Xian once more. The young man appeared to be in his 20s, yet his aura was profound and elusive, suggesting he was a rare master. That blood-colored jade was entrusted to me by the first prince for the 19th lady. He claims it to be a heavenly treasure from a distant kingdom, capable of nurturing the spirit and alleviating qi deficiency, the 17th prince explained. Is that the only one? Are there other similar items? Ji Xian inquired further. Not entirely. Long ago, the medicine used by the 19th lady was provided by the first prince's esteemed medicinal repository. There were also stone-based medicinal catalysts employed, but this jade is indeed the first of its kind, the 17th prince continued, licking his lips. Ji Xian pondered briefly, as if a thought had crossed his mind. Linger, let us tidy up and return to see your mother. Yes, master. The group proceeded slowly towards the palace in the 17th prince's carriage. Upon entering the palace, Ji Xian sensed several probing presences and waved his hand to shield them all. Upon arriving at the chamber of Linger's mother, Ji Xian beheld a woman resting on her sickbed. She was strikingly beautiful, though somewhat wan. Horlinger gently helped her mother to sit up. The 19th lady, still drowsy, looked up at the unfamiliar visitor. Mother, this is my master, Horlinger introduced. The 19th lady merely smiled subtly at Ji Xian, nodding her head without further words. Her weakness evident. At that moment, Ji Xian activated his fiery eyes to examine the 19th lady's condition. To his surprise, she possessed a rare spiritual physique. No wonder she could give birth to such a prodigy as Huoling. Ji Xian mused. The spiritual physique is one that gathers and nurtures spiritual essence. Those who possess such a constitution can continuously absorb the essence of heaven and earth, nourishing themselves. Upon reaching a certain level, the individual would transform into a humanoid embodiment of this essence, with all powers concentrated in their dantian. Conversely, those with this physique are often quite frail before embarking on their cultivation journey, as they lack the spiritual energy necessary to sustain their bodily functions. This was clearly the case here. It seems someone had deliberately facilitated her accumulation of spiritual essence for their own benefit. Ji Xian thought to himself. The blood jade could release its inherent vitality for the 19th lady to absorb, improving her complexion, yet simultaneously. It was gradually consuming the spiritual essence and origin accumulated within her dantian. In the end, Lady 19 would meet only death, her essence depleted. And even Ji Xian would be unable to bring her back. The immediate course of action was to assist her in opening her dantian. Thereafter, the spiritual energy within her body would naturally disperse, alleviating her weakened condition. The so-called complete recovery from a grave illness was merely a matter of time. Ji Xian pointed with a finger, and a small sword-shaped token imbued with countless principles flew forth, embedding itself within Lady 19. In that instant, she felt a tremor in her lower abdomen, accompanied by a surprising sense of comfort. Upon their first meeting, there were no formalities exchanged. "Linger, please take these healing elixirs and treasures for your mother," Ji Xian said, pulling forth a basket of pills and several precious materials from the void, placing them into Fire Linger's arms. "Master, how can I accept this?" Fire Linger replied, somewhat embarrassed. Noticing the fleeting change of emotion on Fire Linger's face, Lady 19 regarded Ji Xian with profound interest. Her daughter had always been exceptionally aloof, maintaining a cold demeanor towards everyone but herself. It was unexpected that a few words from this young gentleman could elicit such a response. Had it not been for their established master-disciple relationship, she might have already taken out a matchmaking ledger. "Linger, your master is acting out of kindness. You should graciously accept it on behalf of your mother." Lady 19, a person of decorum, did not refuse, and only then did Fire Linger accept the gifts. Beep. Host gift triggers a 9,000-fold return. Heavenly grade pure heart pill obtained. Beep. Host gift triggers a 31,000-fold return. Top tier sacred grade lower rank, sword elemental grass obtained. Beep. Host gift triggers a 29,000-fold return. Sacred grade lower rank fire phoenix essence obtained. A series of notification sounds rang out, and Ji Xian received a plethora of rewards in return, many of which were of high quality, predominantly heavenly and kingly grades, with several being sacred grade. Notably, both the sword elemental grass and fire phoenix essence, essential for cultivating the paths of fire and sword, were among the treasures. However, Ji Xian had no intention of using them for himself. Rather, he would bestow them upon his two disciples. Although this mission ostensibly appeared as Ji Xian's patrol duty, it was, in essence, a journey of trials for the two disciples. Given the tumultuous conflicts in the border regions, the two, possessing only foundational cultivation, could not survive alone. Therefore, Ji Xian planned to eliminate any demonic influences, allowing them to focus on their training. He deftly placed the resources into their arms. Next came the lead on the blood jade. "Madam, the medicine has arrived." An eunuch entered the hall, holding aloft a jade plate containing a palm-sized blood jade that radiated a subdued but vivid brilliance. Lady 19 beckoned a maid to welcome it forward. However, a figure abruptly blocked the eunuch's path. It was Ling Yun. "How dare you, commoner, obstruct the madam from receiving her medicine?" The eunuch shrieked. Ji Xian disregarded the eunuch's outcry and boldly reached forward to seize the blood jade. "You seek death." The eunuch retreated, hand resting on the sword at his waist, preparing for confrontation. Upon witnessing this, Lady 19's expression changed, and she hastily rose, intending to intervene. "What is happening all of a sudden?" Hua Linger supported her mother, gently assisting her to sit upon the bed. With a soft smile, she reassured, "Have faith in us. Mother, Master will undoubtedly heal you. He has his reasons." "Bold scoundrel, how dare you obstruct Her Highness from administering medicine? You shall pay with your life." The eunuch drew his sword with a fierce shout and lunged forward. The aura of his core formation stage was unmistakably revealed. Before Ji Xian could act, he sensed a figure flash past him, directly intercepting the sword. Upon closer inspection, it was Ling Yun, who deftly grasped the blade. The clash resonated with a sharp sound as metal met metal, momentarily halting the eunuch's assault. "You." The eunuch stared in astonishment at the youthful figure before him, who was in the mid-stage of foundation establishment. "Who is this person, able to counter my full-force strike with but a single finger?" Ji Xian chuckled at the sight. This boy was indeed enamored with the prowess of his earlier gesture. "You do not even know our identities, yet you wish to kill us. Surely, you cannot be one of my mother's attendants?" At that moment, Hua Linger stepped forward, fixing her gaze on the eunuch. The eunuch, upon seeing Hua Linger, comprehended everything. "I pay my respects to the 19th princess. I am indeed not one of Her Highness's original servants, but rather an old servant sent by the crown prince to assist Her Highness with the jade," he stammered, trembling. His only hope was that Hua Linger remained unaware of the jade's true effects. Otherwise, even 10 of his heads would not suffice. "Do you possess such audacity? Do you understand that this jade draws upon the very essence of life, seeking to plunge my mother into an irreversible abyss?" Hua Linger's aura surged, instantly sweeping away the furniture surrounding the tent. Though it was merely the energy of the late foundation establishment stage, it struck the eunuch with the force of a thunderbolt, causing him excruciating pain. Why has the 19th princess suddenly grown so powerful? The eunuch was filled with dread. Just months prior, she had appeared devoid of any cultivation. "Do not blame this old servant. It was the crown prince who commanded me." The eunuch repeatedly prostrated himself, hastily confessing his wrongdoing. "Summon the crown prince to meet me." Hua Linger delivered a decisive kick, sending the eunuch sprawling out of the hall, flying several meters away. Did she truly utter those words? In the East Palace, a man clad in a dragon robe spoke with irritation. To see her? That is certainly out of the question. This is indeed her exact phrasing, Your Highness. She has injured the old servant severely with her foundation establishment prowess. Oh, did you observe anyone accompanying her? The Crown Prince continued his inquiries. The old servant saw a dark-skinned youth, likely in the mid-stage of foundation establishment, who countered my strike with a mere finger. There was also a man in white whose aura I could not fathom. Did you bring back the blood jade? The Crown Prince pressed. The old servant is at fault. They seized the blood jade. I implore Your Highness to spare my life. Upon hearing this, the Crown Princess' face lit up with a smile as he approached to assist the eunuch. Wang Gonggong, how could I possibly blame you? Just be more cautious in your next life. With that, the Crown Prince thrust his sword, ending the eunuch's life. Come here. Present. A figure instantly appeared, kneeling in reverence. Go to Fengyang Palace and investigate the backgrounds of that group. Yes. The Crown Prince stood by the window, gazing up at the luminous moon. 19th sister. Oh, 19th sister. Why do you meddle in matters that do not concern you? Is it not tantamount to courting death? Chapter 25. The trials of the two princes and the clue to the jade mine after ensuring the comfort of the 19th princess. Huolinger prepared a private chamber for Ji Xian. This palace, nestled between mountains and waters, boasted a picturesque view, located merely 3 alleys away from where Huolinger and her mother resided. As Ji Xian strolled through the courtyard, an unprecedented sense of ease enveloped him. The Hui Kingdom was surrounded by numerous forces rooted in the demonic path, and it would take time to eradicate them. It seemed wise to establish a conducive environment for cultivation here. Having concluded his thoughts, Ji Xian retrieved a substantial quantity of spirit stones from the primordial celestial realm. The stones piled high in the courtyard like small mountains, most of which had been seized from the forces of Nanzhao, with some also returned as gifts. He then produced 3 sets of royal-grade array plates, the spirit-gathering array, the defensive array, and the illusion array, arranged in succession. These arrays were deployed around the periphery of the chamber. Under Ji Xian's manipulation of spiritual energy, the 3 arrays began to rotate and operate with remarkable speed. In an instant, the spirit stones amassed in the courtyard transformed into a vast stream of ethereal energy, flowing into the array's focal point. Radiant hues of 3 colors shimmered within the courtyard. At times, the air was thick with spiritual energy. At others, divine light permeated the atmosphere, oscillating between reality and illusion. The formation was complete, and the cave dwelling established. Next, Ji Xian intended to probe for clues within the palace, seeking to unearth the roots of the Nanzhao demonic influence. With a grand gesture, he conjured a meditation mat from the void. He then sank into a profound state of enlightenment. That night, under the cover of darkness and howling winds, 2 figures appeared 300 meters from the outer perimeter of Ji Xian's chamber, one tall and robust, the other diminutive and mouse-like. They did not walk together but maintained a distance of 100 meters, both observing Ji Xian's residence. Why has the Crown Prince sent him? Could it be that he has received news of the 19th princess's return to the palace? The smaller man squinted, stealthily scrutinizing the robust figure. In the next moment, the sturdy man leaped over the high wall, heading straight for Ji Xian's chamber. Something is amiss. That is not where the 19th princess is located. What is he intending to do? The smaller man thought, alarmed. The robust figure landed gracefully, gazing up at the loft of Ji Xian's chamber. The Crown Prince instructed me to test the waters, yet his true intention is to eliminate this person. The 19th princess's powerful return will undoubtedly affect the contention for the Crown Prince's throne. Contemplating this, the robust man approached the high wall of the chamber. To his astonishment, as he neared, the blue bricks beneath his feet began to twist and distort, shifting positions like ephemeral dreams. Furthermore, the more he advanced, the further he felt from the high wall. An illusion array. The robust man suddenly awoke to the realization. How could I, a master of the divine infant realm within the palace, be thwarted by such a trifling illusion array? His entire being radiated brilliance, an ethereal glow emanating from his pores and features. Break it. He struck the distorted ground with a powerful punch. To his astonishment, the formidable strikes of his martial arts vanished into the illusionary formation like droplets dissolving in the vast ocean. After a series of frenzied assaults, the muscular man felt himself on the verge of exhaustion. In the distance, a diminutive figure gazed toward him, perplexed, pondering what foolishness the brute was flailing at in the air. Just as he contemplated rising to pull the muscular man out, a tremendous sound erupted from the direction of the sleeping quarters. The smaller man turned his gaze toward the source of the noise. Good heavens! His pupils constricted as if he had witnessed a terrifying spectacle. Above the void, a colossal hand, engulfed in roaring flames, descended slowly. The inferno was exceedingly domineering, piercing through the palace's defensive arrays as it bore down directly upon the muscular man. The earth-grade formation beneath that hand appeared as fragile as paper. A wave of panic surged through the smaller man as he beheld the descending hand of Shumi. The Fire Palace, safeguarded by a prestigious earth-grade formation, had stood resilient in the eastern wilderness for centuries, yet now it was penetrated by a single strike. The muscular man was forcefully pressed to the ground by Ji Xian's fiery hand, and subsequently, as if he were a lifeless dog, he was unceremoniously tossed into the interior of the sleeping quarters. I must return swiftly to report to the 7th prince. A significant upheaval is occurring with the 19th princess. The smaller man fled the scene rapidly, vanishing into the vast starry night. Inside the sleeping quarters, the muscular man gradually regained consciousness. Enduring excruciating pain, he struggled to rise, shaking his heavy head to familiarize himself with his surroundings. Finally awake, I thought I had struck you dead with a single blow. At that moment, an ethereal male voice resonated before him. The muscular man looked up, instantly mesmerized by the figure before him. The individual sat cross-legged in the void, clad in white robes, with hair cascading over his shoulders, striking features, and an aura of transcendence that exuded an otherworldly quality. Above his head floated an ancient copper mirror, its surface gleaming with a profound radiance, as if harboring an entire world within. What captivated him even more was the Tao stone, a foot in length, revolving around him, radiating a spectrum of brilliant colors. The aura emitted by the Tao stone seemed to loosen the shackles of his cultivation bottleneck. I pay my respects to my esteemed senior. The muscular man hastily knelt down. This individual, capable of conjuring such advanced formations and possessing such an ethereal demeanor, must undoubtedly be a figure of great power. Ji Xian's eyes slightly widened, and a faint smile graced his lips. Provide me with a reason not to end your life. The muscular man was momentarily taken aback, only to then feel the chilling aura of Ji Xian's murderous intent, causing cold sweat to bead upon his brow. I am Dan Meng, a general under the 1st prince, affiliated with the matriarchal forces of the current empress. I have come to continue speaking. I have come to ascertain the identities of the 19th princess's companions, and if the conditions permit, to eliminate them all. I am aware of what esteemed senior seeks. I implore you to spare my life. Ji Xian cast him a surprised glance. How much could a mere dog servant possibly know? Very well, speak on. The blood jade delivered by the 1st prince to the 19th princess originated from a jade mine hundreds of miles away from the imperial capital of the Fire Nation. It is said that it was procured with the assistance of cultivators from Nanzhao, and I have heard that this type of blood jade is mass-produced, utilizing the blood essence of the witch clan from Nanzhao. And what more? Ji Xian repeatedly wiped the Tianhong sacred sword in his hand, casting a glance at Duan Meng below, as if observing a lifeless rodent. With the murderous intent intensifying, Duan Meng's aura grew increasingly feeble. The true mastermind behind this incident was, in fact, the forces behind the 1st prince and the ancestor, who sought to use the body of the 19th lady to aid the ancestor in transcending to the legendary divine refinement realm. Duan Meng clenched his teeth, hurriedly uttering these words. This was the highest secret of the current dynasty, revealing it equated to betraying the Fire Nation. Similarly, it signified that he could no longer find a place for himself within the palace. Yet, faced with Ji Xian's palpable murderous intent, he had no choice but to comply. The man before him exuded an overwhelming terror, both in his primal instinct and the oppressive force upon his soul. He felt as though he were confronting an ancient ferocious beast. In his hazy perception, he even experienced a disconcerting illusion that the esteemed ancestor of the current dynasty would crumble before this individual. With a resounding clang, Ji Xian thrust his sword into the ground, producing a series of metallic tremors. You are quite knowledgeable. I might spare your life, he declared. Duan Meng felt as though he had been granted a reprieve, hastily bowing his head in gratitude. Thank you, esteemed senior. I am deeply grateful for your mercy. However, Ji Xian's tone shifted, his finger lifted, and a fiery mark plunged directly into Duan Meng's forehead. Duan Meng felt a whirlwind of disorientation as the prohibitions and protective formations in his brow were instantly shattered. The fiery mark entered his sea of consciousness. Esteemed senior, what is your intent? I require you to protect the 19th lady. Should there be even a hint of betrayal, this mark will ignite on its own, and I trust you understand the consequences. I comprehend fully, esteemed senior. Ji Xian waved his hand dismissively. Begone. Duan Meng retreated, vanishing into the night. Ji Xian sat cross-legged on the cushion, his gaze profound. Alas, no matter how one views it, Huolinger is still my first disciple. I shall wade through this murky water. His immediate objective was, of course, the jade mine mentioned by Duan Meng. However, prior to that, he needed to meet with an ancient being. Rising, Ji Xian turned his eyes toward a courtyard on the rear mountain of the palace, his pupils glowing like flames. With the surrounding sword energy swirling around him, Ji Xian vanished from his original spot. Chapter 26. The Revived One at the rear mountain of the palace. The ancestor of the Fire Nation, clad in a crimson Taoist robe, strolled leisurely through the courtyard, appearing quite content. Just then, a muffled groan emanated from the bamboo house. The ancestor, hearing this sound, felt a twinge of displeasure. Casting aside the moonflower he had been folding, he made his way toward the bamboo house. My dear great-grandson, just hold on a little longer. In a few days, I shall be able to gather your and the young 19th spiritual essence to break through to the divine refinement realm. At that time, Our Fire Nation will be able to wash away the humiliation pressed upon us by Nanzhao and the various sects for centuries and rise to prominence in the eastern wilderness. The ancestor caressed his white beard, speaking with delight. Below, a middle-aged man lay sprawled on the bed, and upon closer inspection, a blood-red gem was embedded in the area where his heart resided. High above, Ji Xian's eyes blazed with fire, illuminating the darkness like stars. This Fire Emperor is merely a mortal? Ji Xian felt a sense of astonishment as he sensed the presence of the Fire Emperor lying in bed. In a border nation teeming with cultivators, it is indeed unimaginable for a sovereign to possess no cultivation prowess. Yet, as Ji Xian shifted his gaze and discerned the true nature of the elder beside him, everything became clear. This so-called ancestor was, in fact, a resurrected being. Resurrected beings are those who, having succumbed to death before fully decaying, are revived through secret arts. Their souls have essentially dissipated into the cosmos, rendering them incapable of perceiving the laws of the universe. In simpler terms, they cannot cultivate. However, the elder from the Fire Nation not only managed to cultivate, but had also reached the threshold of the half-step spirit refinement realm. Upon meticulous observation, Ji Xian noted that the internal laws of the resurrected elder's body were incomplete, like a flawed artifact. Correspondingly, the fluctuations of spiritual energy within him were similarly disjointed, seemingly conjured from thin air, with a familiar glimmer of bloodthirsty light, a manifestation of sacrificial power. Ji Xian contemplated this revelation for a moment, deepening his confusion. Previously, during his encounters with the Qing Yuan sect and the Bloodly sect, he had observed a similar force. After the deaths of Wang Qingfeng and Huang Kuei, a blood-red light had emerged from their bodies. Ji Xian had immediately sought to investigate its essence, but an invisible force of law had kept him at bay, preventing even the imperial fire from penetrating. Consequently, he had extinguished it swiftly to prevent any potential calamity. Now, in the Fire Nation, he found yet another instance of sacrificial power, elevating an otherwise unworthy individual to the realm of spirit refinement. It appeared that the elder was merely a defective product in an experimental phase, prompting Ji Xian to ponder deeply. What manner of existence lies behind the Blood Jade and the Witch Clan? Is the southern Zhao kingdom, which the hundreds of sects face, truly just a minor nation in the eastern wilderness? It seems unlikely. Ji Xian opened his system panel, observing the task indicator under the disciple recruitment section, which remained fixed on the location of southern New Prefecture. This indicated that there were still disciples to be recruited in the south. The system seemed to be guiding him through this recruitment process. Regardless, the information currently at his disposal was far too scant. He needed to capture and eliminate more cultivators from the southern Zhao to acquire greater insight. As Ji Xian gazed down at the courtyard, a plan began to form in his mind. Inside the bamboo house, the elder from the Fire Nation sat cross-legged, absorbing the fiery essence that seeped from the Blood Jade embedded in the Fire Emperor's chest. Below, the Fire Emperor appeared to be in great agony. With each wisp of fiery essence that escaped him, he seemed to age further. The elder exhaled a long breath, feeling the shackles of his cultivation loosening, estimating that seizing the last remnants of essence would enable him to break through to spirit refinement. At that moment, the Fire Nation would stand proudly in the eastern wilderness. Suddenly, with a clatter, doors and windows swung open. A chilling gust of wind swept in, leaving the elder shivering. Before he could react, a searing hand lunged from behind, gripping his nape. Who dared to be so audacious? The elder's fury ignited. As a venerated ancestor of a nation, even the emperor would pay him respects. How could anyone have the audacity to seize him by the throat? A wave of searing heat emanated from the body of the ancestral figure of the Fire Nation, instantly filling the entire room. He summoned all his strength, striving to rise and deliver a fatal blow to the assailant behind him. Yet, he was soon astounded to discover that no matter how he channeled the power of fire, it extinguished the moment it ignited. Subsequently, he resorted to the strength of his flesh to struggle, only to find himself firmly restrained. It was at this moment that the ancestral figure of the Fire Nation regained his composure. Pray tell, what grievances exist between me and the esteemed elder? He inquired with a hint of frustration. Who are you that has returned, and who instructed you to seize the essence of fire from within the Fire Emperor? Moreover, what is your ultimate aim in your cultivation? Upon hearing this, the ancestral figure paused for a moment, then began to recount his tale. After listening intently, Ji Xian furrowed his brow, realizing he had not obtained the answers he sought. He then produced the soul-controlling lamp and initiated a soul search on the ancestral figure. However, what he perceived was a chaotic void, with only a few fragments of information aligning closely with the ancestral figure's narrative. It turned out to be merely one of the puppets on the screen, Ji Xian murmured. Similar to his previous endeavors, Ji Xian inscribed a mark of regulation within the ancestral figure SC of consciousness. The ancestral figure immediately yielded, promising to cooperate with Ji Xian in all endeavors. Ji Xian then cast his gaze upon the ailing Fire Emperor on the sickbed, letting out a deep sigh. Born with the essence of fire, with diligent cultivation, one could harness a measure of might. Alas, having been drained, a century of time wasted, the once divine body has now become a mere husk. Ji Xian then pointed sending forth a rich source of fire that penetrated the Fire Emperor's body. This fragment of sacred essence will allow you to survive for 200 years without issue. Beyond that, I am unconcerned. With a flicker of his cold eyes, Ji Xian stood proud and resolute, sweeping his sleeve as he departed. Take good care of him, were his parting words to the ancestral figure of the Fire Nation. The ancestral figure gazed at the ethereal silhouette, his expression momentarily dazed, as he vaguely recalled distant memories. This individual, in every gesture, radiated an overwhelming divinity. It seemed that the mundane affairs of the world were for him but trifles, utterly inconsequential. So too were mortals. And we cultivators alike. Alas, how ephemeral life is. Meanwhile, at the residence of the Crown Prince, a question arose. What is the situation? The Crown Prince asked, looking down at the kneeling Duan Meng. Duan Meng bowed his head, his eyes glimmering with intelligence. Your Highness, they seem to have discerned the location of the Jade Mine. After a brief respite, they are likely to proceed. You did not take action against them? Queried the Crown Prince. The accompanying youth in white possesses strength superior to mine. I dared not act recklessly. The Crown Prince closed his eyes, repeatedly stroking his chin, deep in thought. He then spoke again. It seems the matter of the Jade Mine may have been uncovered by the myriad sections. I must prepare our forces to thwart them. I shall wholeheartedly assist your Highness in repelling the invaders, Duan Meng declared, bowing deeply in loyalty. No, Duan Meng. I have an even more pressing task to entrust to you. Please, speak, your Highness, Duan Meng replied. The Crown Prince opened his eyes, rising from his throne and descending the steps with purpose. I require you to maintain a constant watch over the Fengyang Palace. Should any unusual occurrences arise, eliminate the 19th princess without hesitation. Upon hearing this, Duan Meng felt a tightening in his heart. Your Highness, are you not concerned about the ancestor? As for the ancestor, I have my own decisions to make. Now, you may leave. Yes. As Duan Meng retreated and descended from the Grand Hall, a subtle smile graced his lips. Chapter 27. Huolinger breaks through to the Foundation establishment stage. The 7th prince in the early morning, a gentle golden dawn illuminated the palace's corridors. Huolinger and Ling Yun set forth to pay their respects to Ji Xian. Within Ji Xian's chamber, the disciples Huolinger and Ling Yun bowed deeply. Disciple Huolinger pays homage to master. Disciple Ling Yun pays homage to master. Both knelt in reverence. Ji Xian slowly opened his tightly shut eyes, surveying the two before shifting his gaze to Huolinger. Indeed, you have successfully broken through to the Foundation establishment stage. Ling Yun, you two have reached the late stage of foundation building. Rise, Ji Xian instructed. Thank you, master. The two rose from the ground, their eyes fixed upon the esteemed figure before them. Inwardly, Ji Xian contemplated, system, the reward for Huolinger's foundation establishment. Ding. Detection confirms Huolinger has broken through to the foundation establishment stage. Reward, Pre-Saint Weapon, Qingyan Divine Measuring Ruler X1. Ji Xian retrieved the reward from his spatial realm. It was a divine measuring ruler, 6 feet in length, adorned with intricate patterns of a green phoenix and emanating wisps of azure flame. More importantly, the surface of the ruler was imbued with a faint aura of sacred principles. Casually, Ji Xian tossed it to Huolinger. Accept this Pre-Saint Weapon as a token of congratulations on your breakthrough. Thank you, master. Huolinger cradled the Qing ruler, cherishing it immensely. In contrast, Ling Yun gazed hungrily at the Pre-Saint Weapon, nearly drooling with desire. Ji Xian could not help but chuckle softly. He then rolled up his sleeves and extended a finger, imparting a sphere of azure light into Ling Yun's forehead. Master, is this a sacred sword technique? Ling Yun pondered, astonished by the sudden addition of the Tai Xian sword method within his mind. Though this Tai Xian sword method does not compare to the life and death divine sword I initially imparted to you, it is considerably easier to comprehend and will greatly assist you in cultivating your sword heart. Practice diligently, and when you achieve the foundation establishment stage, I shall gift you a sacred weapon as well. Ji Xian advised. I shall heed Master S teachings. In the following moments, Ji Xian conveyed the matters concerning the Fire Emperor and the 19th princess to the two disciples and outlined the direction of their forthcoming actions. As Huolinger listened to Ji Xian's account, her fists clenched tightly, her body trembling slightly. Her palms bore marks from her nails, with droplets of blood seeping forth. The illness that had plagued her mother for years was instigated by her own brother. How could she not harbor hatred? This time, she was determined to bring the mastermind to justice. The 7th prince has arrived at the palace. Attend to him swiftly. A young eunuch called out from outside. Huolinger responded promptly and stepped outside. Upon reaching the entrance, she beheld the grand procession of the 7th prince approaching. A yellow dragon flag fluttered in the breeze, adorned with the emblem of 7 celestial stars. Greetings, 7th brother. Huolinger bowed to the young man atop the carriage. Do not be so formal, 19th sister. It has been quite a while since we last met, and you have grown even more beautiful. May I inquire if our esteemed master is within the palace? The 7th prince inquired. My revered master is currently in the Grand Hall, replied Huolinger. How utterly unreasonable for the 7th prince to arrive without anyone to greet him. At this moment, an elderly woman from the side of the carriage spoke up. Having seen Lu Momo before, Huolinger offered a perfunctory greeting. Lu Momo snorted dismissively, choosing to ignore her. Hualing Er's expression darkened slightly. The seventh prince descended from the carriage. Ah, Lu Momo, what is the necessity of this? We are all siblings at the end of the day. Moreover, the master of the 19th sister is also my elder. Whether one comes to greet or not, what difference does it make? With that, he turned to the 19th sister and requested, please lead me to meet the esteemed master. The group proceeded into the palace chambers. Ji Xian sat high upon a grand chair, looking down at the elegantly dressed palace attendants who entered. The seventh prince stepped into the hall and offered a slight bow. I pay my respects to Senior Ji. Ji Xian nodded and casually inquired, what brings you here? Lu Momo, unable to contain herself any longer, exclaimed, presumptuous commoner. Not only do you fail to greet the arrival of the seventh prince, but you dare to sit high above while acknowledging him. Do you realize this is the imperial palace of the Fire Nation? Ji Xian cast a peculiar glance at Lu Momo. What concern is it of yours? I never invited you here. If you wish to leave, feel free. Continue with such insolence, and I shall revoke your cultivation. A surge of imperial majesty emanated from him, bearing down upon Lu Momo. In an instant, Lu Momo felt as if her internal organs had been struck, her soul in turmoil, and her consciousness spinning wildly. Most frighteningly, she felt an irresistible urge to kneel. Could he be a practitioner at the pinnacle of the divine infant realm? Lu Momo thought in shock. Ji Xian then shifted his gaze to the seventh prince, seemingly unperturbed by Lu Momo's transgression. I am fully aware of your remarkable powers, esteemed senior, and thus I have come to invite you to seek a fortuitous opportunity. The seventh prince took a step forward, beaming with a smile. Oh, pray tell? Ji Xian responded. I have heard that 1,000 miles north of the Fire Nation's imperial palace lies a primordial jade mine, rich in resources. It is rumored that within it resides jade essence that has matured over 10,000 years. I believe that if you were to refine this jade essence, your powers would surely advance significantly, extending your lifespan by a millennium. The seventh prince continued to elaborate enthusiastically, painting an enticing picture of the jade mine. Ji Xian couldn't help but chuckle. How could he not discern the thoughts of this child? That jade mine is a significant asset under the first prince's command. The seventh prince clearly intended to sever ties with the first prince, hastening his bid for the throne. He sought Ji Xian's assistance, believing that a month prior, his spies had witnessed the first prince's men being subdued. This young man assumed he was part of a newly entered faction in the palace, seeking to ally with Ji Xian to topple the first prince and secure the throne for himself. Esteemed senior, once this endeavor succeeds, I will petition my father to grant you a princely title. Henceforth, you need not wander aimlessly, but can focus on your cultivation in peace, the seventh prince added. Observing Ji Xian's contemplative expression, he realized there was potential for success in this venture. With the current lack of powerful practitioners in the divine infant realm, it was indeed fitting for the esteemed master of the 19th sister to lend his strength, as he envisioned himself ascending to the illustrious position of the Golden Dragon, bestowing upon him vast expanses of land, immense treasures of gold and silver, resources for cultivation, and beautiful maidens from the palace. The seventh prince felt an increasing sense of pride within. Ji Xian maintained a tranquil demeanor, betraying not a hint of emotion. This young man had indeed calculated his interests well, unwilling to concede any loss. In the realm of mortals, he could certainly be deemed fit for an emperor, his only flaw being a lack of intellect. He fancied himself in control of all circumstances, oblivious to the fact that he was merely a pawn being manipulated from the shadows, both by me and by the crown prince. Very well. Since he regards me as a fool, I shall not regard him as a man, Ji Xian mused. The seventh prince indeed bore the demeanor of a sovereign, and so I shall lend him my support. Ji Xian nodded, tacitly agreeing to the matter at hand. Then, I shall await you at the northern gate of the palace 15 days hence. I take my leave, the seventh prince announced before departing. As he left, Ling Yun could not suppress a derisive laugh, casting a condescending glance at the retreating figure of the seventh prince. Granny Lu turned her head, shooting a fierce glare at Ling Yun. You youngsters, wait for me. Chapter 28. The beast tied in the forest half a month later, with the dawn's first light emerging. A dull rumble resonated within Ji Xian, followed by the surging of profound, true energy. He had reached the 8th layer of the refinement of spirit realm. Ji Xian clenched his fists, relishing the surge of power. Today was the day he had promised to accompany the seventh prince. He summoned Hualinger and Ling Yun, issuing several instructions before the trio made their way to the northern gate of the palace. Upon arrival, they discovered that the seventh prince's entourage had been awaiting them for some time. Predecessor, we should set off, the seventh prince called, drawing back the curtain of his carriage. Ji Xian replied with indifference. Granny Lu shot Ji Xian a venomous glare before stepping forward to direct the procession. The royal palace of the Fire Kingdom faced south, with the renowned Tian Beast Mountain range of the eastern wilderness to the north. The mountains were home to various monstrous beasts, and the deeper one ventured, the stronger the aura of these creatures became. Ji Xian expanded his spiritual consciousness, enveloping a significant portion of the Tian Beast Mountain range. After a while, he roughly pinpointed the location of the jade mine, situated deep within the mountains. The mine was surrounded by a plethora of ferocious beasts, Within 1,000-foot radius below, glistening raw ore was abundant. Yet, for some reason, Ji Xian sensed a considerable disparity between this ore and the blood jade, particularly in terms of aura, which lacked a certain malevolent energy. Furthermore, a particular presence emanating from the depths of the jade mine caught Ji Xian's attention. It was a being at the refinement of spirit realm, seemingly not of the human race. After surveying the creature with his spiritual sense, he reached this conclusion. He cast a sidelong glance at the seventh prince, still too inexperienced. The pace of the caravan was exceedingly slow. After a day's journey, they had covered barely 600 miles. As dusk approached, a ferocious beastly roar jolted Ji Xian awake. Upon opening his eyes, he noticed the guards ahead were in a state of agitation. It's a beast tide. My heavens, so many monsters. A soldier accompanying them shouted in panic, wielding a spear as he gazed at the surging tide of beasts in the distance. Instantly, chaos erupted among the ceremonial procession. At that moment, a sharp sound of wind cut through the air behind the team. Lu Momo, channeling her profound energy, soared ahead on a divine rainbow. Do not panic. Our priority is to protect His Highness the Prince. With a grand gesture, she summoned a Xuanji umbrella from her sleeve. The umbrella spun rapidly, forming a protective barrier that withstood the pounding iron hooves of the monstrous beasts. It is Lu Momo. Remain calm. Lu Momo is here to form a protective formation around the prince. The soldiers and attendants were instantly invigorated, knowing that Lu Momo, a mid-stage practitioner of the divine infant realm, would keep them safe. Suspended in midair, Lu Momo gazed at the tide of beasts held at bay by her Xuanji umbrella, a smile curving her lips. Just a horde of foundation and core formation little demons. How dare they act so brazenly before me? The seventh prince, standing at the rear, marveled. Truly, Lu Momo is one of the 5 foremost experts of the palace. She single-handedly holds back this tide of beasts. Crack! Just as everyone reveled in their reprieve, a fissure appeared in the protective shield of the Xuanji umbrella. How is this possible? Lu Momo's expression shifted dramatically. The Xuanji umbrella of the lower tier had sustained damage? Could such a feat be accomplished by a mere group of lowly beasts? No, something was amiss. Lu Momo's gaze fell upon a blood-red glow swirling within the tide of beasts. It emanated from the beast's pores and features, so abundant and widespread that it draped the entire horde in a sinister red veil. Curse it. If I were to escape alone, it would be no trouble. But with the seventh prince here, how could I abandon him? She then turned her attention to Ji Xian at the back of the group. He was actually meditating with his eyes closed. A surge of anger welled up within her as she saw Ji Xian seated on a mat, seemingly indifferent to the chaos surrounding them. Master, may we engage? Ling Yun, sword in hand, bowed and inquired. Yes, it would be beneficial for you to gain experience. But remember to avoid the great demons, Ji Xian conveyed telepathically, still seated with his eyes shut, as if detached from the external turmoil. Understood. Ling Yun and Hua Linger vanished into the depths of the forest. Ji Xian had already surveyed the horde before them. The outer circle primarily contained foundation and core formation beasts, while a few great demons of the divine infant realm lurked within the inner circle. He would handle the few behind, while he entrusted the thousands ahead to his 2 disciples. Although each beast bore the gruesome aura of blood jade, he had faith in their capabilities to cleanse the area. Boom. The Xuanji umbrella, which had held out for so long, finally shattered, and a surge of monstrous beasts poured in. The seventh prince's convoy stumbled backward, desperately evading the onslaught. The beasts, seemingly imbued with intelligence, fixated their targets on the royal carriage. Time and again, the seventh prince's party found themselves besieged. The maidens, terrified, scattered in all directions. Once more, Lu Momo summoned a magical artifact and advanced to confront the beasts. A radiant burst of light erupted, and the encroaching monsters fell one by one at her feet. Just then, a rhythmic thumping echoed from ahead, the heartbeat of some great beast resonating through the dim forest, creating an atmosphere thick with foreboding. A great demon of a divine infant realm? Lu Momo peered into the darkness, her expression grave. If a deity-infused beast were to attack, she would undoubtedly focus all her energy on that formidable creature. However, this would leave the multitude of lesser beasts unattended, and the seventh prince, being only an early-stage alchemist, would be utterly helpless against them. She shifted her gaze to the position where Ji Xian had been. Where has he gone? Lu Momo was astonished to discover that Ji Xian, along with his 2 disciples, had vanished from the carriage. They fled. She looked around, realizing that several figures had completely disappeared without a trace. This is absurd. Lu Momo was so enraged that her blood surged, nearly causing her to spit out a mouthful of old blood. Very well, I never expected much from them anyway. Even if I stand alone here, I can still protect the seventh prince. A thunderous rumble echoed as trees collapsed in the darkness ahead. A colossal being, towering several dozen feet high, emerged into Lu Momo's view. It was a triangular demon ape, its arms encased in formidable armor, with 3 sharp horns adorning its head. With each swing of its arms, the trees and birds within 100 feet were instantaneously shattered. A mid-stage deity-infused beast, is it? Lu Momo gritted her teeth and advanced with her sword drawn. The 2 parties immediately engaged in fierce combat. Deep within the forest, Ji Xian hovered in the air, gazing down at the demon beasts pinned firmly to the ground. Including the monkey I just sent over, there are supposedly 7 deity-infused beasts in this so-called beast tide, right? Hey, are you still alive? Ji Xian descended and smiled at the several mid-stage deity-infused beasts. A howl, a roar. The beasts were held firmly to the ground by an invisible force, unable to move even a muscle. A crimson glow flickered in their eyes, as if they had lost their sanity and were under someone else's control. It seems communication with you is futile. Very well, I shall personally drag him out later. Ji Xian glanced in the direction of the jade mine, a glimmer of hope flashing in his eyes. Chapter 29, The White-Clad Sword Immortal, an Ancient Relic Buzz. A flurry of sharp sword lights descended from the heavens, encircling Ji Xian. The 6 deity-infused beasts before him had already been slain in a single strike. The next task was merely to await the convoy's approach to the jade mine. Ji Xian had long sensed that the first prince's forces had laid heavy ambushes around the jade mine. Their equipment was superb, and their formations were tightly arranged, evidently having anticipated the arrival of the 7th prince and his companions. I wonder what preparations that young man has made. Ji Xian was filled with expectation. The 7th prince shows considerable cleverness. I wonder how much control he possesses over such a significant issue. For now, I shall return. Ji Xian turned his gaze to the tumultuous forest behind him. It would be somewhat unexciting to single-handedly storm in and beat the being of the divine refining realm. He then transformed into a beam of sword light, soaring into the sky, vanishing beyond the horizon. On the other side, Lu Momo's battle with the demon ape was nearing its conclusion. She had severed one of the ape's arms, significantly diminishing its ferocity compared to its initial assault. Meanwhile, Lu Momo herself was in tatters, her clothes tattered and her body covered in wounds, utterly exhausted. If only I were 200 years younger, I would slay you like a pig or dog. Lu Momo gasped, her breath heavy. Roar. The demon ape once again rose to its feet, furiously pounding its chest. Suddenly, strange purple markings illuminated its body, radiating a ghostly white light. Concurrently, the aura emanating from the demon ape surged once more. Although its severed arm had not regenerated, its strength had multiplied several-fold. Lu Momo gazed in astonishment at the bizarre markings. This was an ancient relic. The bloodline of such relics is formidable, inherently possessing ancient secrets at birth. As it appeared, the abilities demonstrated by this demon ape were likely the legendary ancient treasures. Once revived, the demon ape fixed its gaze upon the carriage of the 7th prince, then began to lumber forward with a body as massive as a mountain. You shall not pass. Lu Momo exclaimed, her body racked with pain as she prepared to confront the beast. Roar. Howl. A cacophony of beastly roars echoed from behind. Lu Momo focused her gaze, her heart sinking in despair. Another wave of beasts was upon them, seemingly even more powerful than the last. This was dire indeed. Suddenly, 2 figures darted into the fray at the center of the beast tide. Were they Ji Xian's disciples? Lu Momo watched as the 2 figures gradually conformed to the shadows in her mind. She beheld Huolinger, wielding a 6-foot-long azure flame staff, unleashing a tempest of furious phoenix flames amidst the horde of beasts. Wherever she passed, the creatures emitted mournful cries. The inferno raging around her was under her exquisite control. Turning her attention to the other figure, she saw a dark-skinned individual brandishing a golden longsword, continuously leaping through the tide of beasts. With each swing, he pierced and dispatched several creatures. The sword energy he commanded cutting through the air with a terrifying sharpness, resonating like a death knell for the demonic beasts. Hee. This royal-grade golden dragon sword given by my master is truly remarkable. Ling Yun chuckled foolishly while slaying, leaving Lu Momo speechless. One was at the early stage of core formation, the other at the late stage of foundation establishment, yet they thrived in this sea of beasts like fish in water. Lu Momo couldn't help but feel a surge of astonishment. She had to reassess her impression of Ji Xian. Cultivating such disciples suggested he was perhaps not as inept as she had presumed. At that moment, the demon ape was agitated, drawing closer to the 7th prince. With the wind howling, Lu Momo, despite the excruciating pain, summoned a gale and charged forward with her sword raised. The demon ape's iron fist descended like a meteor. Crashing down, Lu Momo braced herself with her sword, channeling her energy to withstand the impact. With a sickening gasp, she spat out a mouthful of black blood and was sent flying 100 meters back, nearly plummeting to the ground. How has it grown so powerful? Lu Momo's heart raced in alarm. After being enhanced by the ancient treasure, the demon ape's strength had undoubtedly reached the pinnacle of the divine infant stage. Even contending with it at the same level was proving strenuous for her, let alone attempting to fight above her rank. At this moment, all that remained in her heart was despair. The failure to protect the 7th prince filled her with regret and bitterness. Below, the 7th prince looked solemnly at the colossal demon ape in the distance, contemplating the jade talisman in his hand. The situation had become increasingly dire. Should he consider using this talisman? The 7th prince was deeply conflicted. This jade talisman is a treasured artifact of communication. As long as he shatters the talisman, several formidable experts in the divine infant realm within the imperial city will rush to his rescue. However, it can only be used once. If he were to encounter an ambush from the crown prince near the jade mine, how would he respond? Just then, a A deep and powerful horn echoed from the horizon. The onlookers turned to see the source, instantly rendered speechless. There, amidst the roiling black clouds at an altitude of 10,000 meters, stood a figure suspended in midair, behind whom seemed to surge an army of thousands, grand and imposing. A bronze ancient realm floated behind him, rising and falling with an aura both archaic and profound. Beside him, a divine sword radiating red and white brilliance hovered, exuding immense power. The figure was tall and imposing, standing straight against the sky. He was enveloped in a mist of chaotic energy, obscuring his true visage and even his attire. Is this an immortal? Even Lu Momo gazed in a trance. High above, Ji Xian listened to the resonant horn, feeling somewhat bewildered. He had merely activated the Sword God King body, yet it had summoned such an entourage. And a horn to herald his arrival? My goodness. It seemed he had underestimated this divine body. It was not entirely his fault, as he had yet to encounter an opponent of equal strength to truly engage in battle, which meant his divine body and imperial fire had never been fully unleashed. Regaining his composure, Ji Xian turned his gaze to the magic ape below. From their first encounter, he sensed it was an ancient relic species, only just now discerning the divine patterns within it. Amplification-type treasure techniques, Ji Xian mused. Most cultivation techniques in the human realm are adaptations of the divine patterns found within magical beasts. Thus, the treasure techniques of magical beasts of the same rank are significantly more powerful than those of human cultivation methods. If he could acquire the treasure technique from this magic ape and bestow it upon his disciples, he might be able to return with a high-grade treasure technique. The divine patterns of the magic ape were inscribed across its entire body, resembling an ancient scripture etched upon its surface. Ji Xian focused on its left arm. Unfortunately, a part was missing. I initially intended to leave you intact, but it seems unnecessary now. With a thought, Ji Xian unleashed a sword beam that blotted out the sun, instantly cleaving the magic ape in two. The earth beneath was similarly sliced, creating deep chasms that stretched for dozens of miles. So powerful. Lu Momo gazed at the sword ravine not far away, her heart filled with awe. This individual had slain a fully realized magic ape with a single strike. He must have reached the threshold of the half-step refining god realm. Aside from the ancestors, such a master exists within the borders of the Fire Nation. Could it be? Lu Momo glanced at the seventh prince behind her, pondering. Could he be one of His Highness's men? The seventh prince looked back at her, his expression one of confusion, as if to say, how would I know? Ling Yun and Horlinger stood amidst a sea of corpses, gazing up at Ji Xian high above. When did I become as handsome as my master? Ling Yun wished. Horlinger's beautiful eyes sparkled, emotions flowing within her. After the earth-shattering spectacle, the phenomena in the sky receded, and Ji Xian vanished from the heavens. To behold a true immortal is a fulfillment beyond this life, sighed Lu Momo. At that moment, Ji Xian emerged from the thicket and returned to his original position. The seventh prince, ever vigilant, immediately sensed his presence and turned his gaze toward Ji Xian. Upon perceiving the lingering sword intent surrounding Ji Xian, he recalled the sword immortal that had recently graced the heavens. A terrifying and absurd conjecture took root in his mind. Chapter 30. Defeat and collapse. Deep within the Beast Mountain range, the grand expanse of the mine stood before the first prince, who gazed contemplatively in the direction of the royal palace with his hands clasped behind his back. Beside him stood a man clad in peculiar attire, who held aloft a shimmering tome inscribed with the words The Great Compendium of Beast Control. Ping Ku, how far have they progressed? The first prince inquired. The oddly dressed man stepped forward and bowed, responding, less than 100 miles from here. Oh, they have traversed the beast tide? The first prince expressed mild surprise. He possessed comprehensive knowledge regarding the seventh prince's forces. If 7 divine infant realm beasts could not impede their advance, had they resorted to using their trump cards? Ping Ku, can you sense the presence of those fierce beasts? Your Highness, they have been out of contact for some time. When I last checked, I discovered 6 divine infant realm beasts had been slain on the spot, seemingly with a single strike. Ping Ku replied. What? The first prince's previously unperturbed heart quivered at the revelation. Could it be that he had summoned the power of a divine transformation realm cultivator? How could a commoner possess such authority? The first prince pondered with suspicion. Ping Ku continued, Your Highness need not worry. The royal ancestor is currently in excellent condition. Just a step away from the divine transformation realm, I have managed to control the beast within the mine using my master's secret techniques. We are well prepared and shall prevail once more. Very well. Upon hearing Ping Ku's assurance, the first prince let out a long breath. Ping Ku had been sent by the Southern Zhao Kingdom to assist him in seizing the throne and exploiting the mineral resources. This individual possessed extraordinary beast-taming abilities, having subdued an ancient relic species of the divine transformation realm with his half-step divine transformation cultivation. Now, he commanded 3 generals on the verge of breaking into the divine transformation realm. Seventh brother, you remain too young. I have not sought you out, yet you dare to covet my mineral resources. Very well, this time, let it be a journey from which you shall not return. The first prince puffed out his chest, radiating confidence as he envisioned the final outcome. Moments later, as dawn broke and the sun ascended slowly, the convoy of the seventh prince gradually entered the mining area. Your Highness, we are almost there, Lu Momo announced as she approached. All units on alert, the seventh prince commanded as he stepped out of the carriage, standing atop the yoke and gazing intently at the mine in the distance. Since my elder brother has acquired this mine, his forces have grown increasingly formidable. Once I seize this mine, I shall solidify my power and challenge the throne. The seventh prince was filled with ambition, invigorated by the prospect of success. On the outskirts of the beast forest, more than a dozen divine infant realm cultivators awaited his command. Once the jade talisman shattered, they would hasten to lend their support. What did a dozen divine infant realm cultivators signify? As long as the ancient slumbering beings did not awaken, they could overturn any power within a radius of tens of thousands of miles. Even the 100 sects are hardly a concern. Not to mention, I have by my side the enigmatic Ji Xian. From his perspective, Ji Xian is at least a perfected practitioner of the divine infant realm. Should he manage to bring such an individual under his command, the Fire Nation would undoubtedly dominate half of the eastern wilderness. Suddenly, several shadowy arrows shot forth at an alarming speed, aimed directly at the seventh prince's brow. Be careful, Your Highness, Lu Momo exclaimed, directing her finger, and the sword aura surged forth, altering the trajectory of the arrows. Bang! A venerable ancient tree, standing several dozen meters away, was instantaneously obliterated. Figures flitted amidst the underbrush before vanishing into the depths of the forest. It seems my elder brother has sensed something, alas. The seventh prince sighed. The slaughter between brothers is profoundly heart-wrenching. Yet, with his insatiable ambition, the seventh prince could never relinquish his claim to the throne. After another stretch of travel, the entourage of the seventh prince arrived at the entrance of the mine. It was a spacious clearing surrounded by barren mountains. On a high platform, tents and watchtowers were erected, indicating a garrison presence. Who goes there? A guard demanded. Lu Momo stepped forward, stating, the royal family suspects illicit mining activities within the heavenly beast forest and has come to investigate, still not allowing passage. Ha! A hearty laugh echoed. The eldest prince slowly emerged from the camp, standing beside the guard. My dear seventh brother, there is no need for pretense. My head is right here for you to claim. Upon hearing this, the seventh prince dismounted from his carriage. Elder brother, surrender willingly. There are already a dozen experts of the divine infant realm waiting outside. The outcome is sealed. We brothers should not be at odds. Arrogance. The eldest prince waved his hand, and a dozen divine rainbows flashed across the sky. Whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. 10 practitioners of the divine infant realm stood beside the eldest prince. Seize him, the eldest prince commanded. The practitioners channeled their techniques, conjuring a vast net that descended upon the seventh prince. How could you possibly summon so many divine infant realm practitioners? The seventh prince's expression changed dramatically. With a crack, he hastily shattered a jade talisman. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A similar gust of wind arose behind him as another group of over 10 divine infant realm practitioners emerged. Each brandished their treasures, and in an instant, the ground was filled with resplendent light, shattering the vast net. Roar! Just as the seventh prince's side prepared to counterattack, a feral roar resonated from the front. On the low hillside, a dozen colossal beasts surged forth. Some resembled tigers, others eagles, and still others bears. Without exception, they exuded an aura of the divine infant realm. Impossible. How did you summon such a multitude of divine infant realm forces? Have you gathered the powers of the 100 sects? The seventh prince's countenance darkened, filled with trepidation. At that moment, he noticed a towering figure standing beside the eldest prince. This man was imposing and robust, clad in peculiar attire that clearly did not belong to this nation. An elusive aura emanated from him, seemingly transcending even the divine infant realm. Is he from Nanzhao? The seventh prince instantly recognized the attire worn by the individual before him. It was the traditional garb of Nanzhao. How dare you betray the nation and conspire with the enemy? Such audacity, he exclaimed, retreating while hurling curses. Above, the first prince sat regally, a playful smile gracing his features. I have suddenly changed my mind. Kill him. Whoever slays the seventh prince shall be rewarded with a top-tier magical artifact. A throng of cultivators, their eyes ablaze with fervor, responded to the command, swiftly channeling their spells toward the seventh prince. Protect his highness, shouted a cultivator at the divine infant stage. Alas, outnumbered and overwhelmed, the seventh prince found himself retreating under relentless assault. Lu Momo, already grievously injured, displayed her frailty in this dire moment. After enduring a few rounds of magical bombardment, her strength waned, and she staggered, on the verge of collapse. Your Highness, flee, she gasped, desperately attempting to push the seventh prince away. The seventh prince stood frozen, disbelief coursing through him. How could this happen? I had prepared so thoroughly. Who could have anticipated his treachery with Nanzhao? Consumed by despair, the seventh prince realized he could only withdraw. Should he fall into the hands of the first prince, his fate would be worse than death. He turned and dashed toward the depths of the forest. At that moment, he beheld a young man in white emerging slowly from the shadows of the trees. Observing the chaotic eruption of spells, Ji Xian's lips curled into a faint smile. Without a hint of hesitation, he resolutely advanced towards the first prince's formation. Chapter 31. Massacre. The radiant spells illuminated the sky in a kaleidoscope of colors. The mines and forests lay ravaged, nearly half destroyed. Ji Xian strode calmly across the dazzling battlefield, his demeanor as imposing as a dragon or tiger. The seventh prince, watching Ji Xian's retreating figure, felt tumultuous emotions roiling within him. Is Senior Ji going to intervene? He hoped and yearned. If Ji Xian truly was that day's white-clad sword immortal, the seventh prince would do everything to bind him as his vassal. With such a figure by his side, how could he not dominate the eastern wilderness? Lu Momo, stepping aside, gazed at Ji Xian's silhouette. What a reckless endeavor. Even if you are an exceptional cultivator at the divine infant stage, you will not be able to unleash your full potential against the onslaught of dozens of your peers. You will only squander your talented disciples. Ji Xian, enveloped in a refreshing aura, wore a smile. At that moment, his thoughts were solely occupied with the surprises the spiritual beings within the Jade Mine might bring, completely disregarding the fierce battle surrounding him. Suddenly, a figure brandishing a divine bow drew back the taut string, releasing an arrow aimed at Ji Xian. Ji Xian merely flickered his eyelids, a spark igniting in his gaze. The swiftly approaching arrow ignited from its metal tip to its feathered end, reducing to ashes before it could travel a few paces. What? My specially crafted arrow from 9 heavens Xian iron was so easily neutralized? How did he accomplish that? The archer, convinced that a flaw in his technique had rendered the arrow ineffective, knocked another arrow, drawing the bow into a crescent shape, preparing to strike Ji Xian again. Yet, as he gazed in Ji Xian's direction, he felt as though the world had plunged into darkness. Looking up, he beheld a colossal sword shadow stretching across the heavens, blotting out the sun, cleaving the thick clouds asunder. The individual's pupils constricted dramatically, as if he had encountered some unspeakable horror. Just as he contemplated fleeing the scene, an excruciating pain enveloped his body, akin to being mercilessly shredded by 1,000 sharp blades. Lowering his gaze, he was horrified to discover that his form was indeed being gradually torn apart. It felt as though countless invisible divine weapons were piercing and slashing through the air. A piercing scream echoed throughout the entire mining expanse. The combatants paused, turning their attention toward the source of the cry. There, high above, stood a figure wielding a bow, whose body trembled violently before erupting into a vast cloud of blood, showering the area. My heavens, the divine Bao Marquis has fallen. Who could have slain him? Someone gasped in disbelief. Legends spoke of the Marquis's full-force strike being capable of threatening even those in the god-refining stage. How could he possibly perish? Doubts lingered in the hearts of the assembled cultivators, yet the grim reality was undeniable. The divine Bao Marquis lay dead, and in a most tragic manner. Soon enough, attention shifted to Ji Xian. This individual was unfathomable. Fellow cultivators, let us unite to eliminate him and secure the grand ambitions of the Great Prince. Kill, kill, kill. The God-Infant Realm cultivators affiliated with the Great Prince surged toward Ji Xian, summoning their respective lifebound artifacts. A resounding chime reverberated through the air. It was a low-grade Earth-tier auxiliary artifact, designed to amplify the spellcasting potency of allies and replenish their expended spiritual energy. Bolstered by the Great Bell, the God-Infant Realm cultivators spared no effort in unleashing their diverse divine abilities and techniques against Ji Xian, who found himself engulfed by a myriad of divine lights. Quickly, someone save Elder Ji. The seventh prince shouted frantically from the rear. Ji Xian's prowess surpassed that of all his subordinates, and he would undoubtedly prove invaluable in the future. Moreover, only Ji Xian could facilitate their escape from this perilous situation. He could not bear to witness Ji Xian's demise. Yet, silence reigned among his ranks. The seventh prince scanned his surroundings, only to find that a significant portion of his forces had already suffered casualties. No one had the time to concern themselves with Ji Xian. Despair coursed through him. Suddenly, a jarring metallic resonance pierced the air. The seventh prince looked up to see the towering great bell split into midair. With a sweeping motion of his sleeve, Ji Xian dissipated the overwhelming divine light in an instant, sending the spellcasters reeling 100 feet away. Stand back. Those who approach shall perish. Ji Xian uttered softly. The great prince, observing Ji Xian's deliberate approach, wore a grave expression. This individual posed a significant threat. Ping Ku, can you discern his cultivation level? Ping Ku stepped forward, probing with his spiritual sense. Bang! As Ping Ku's consciousness neared Ji Xian, it was repelled by an invisible force. Alarm coursed through Ping Ku. How could this esteemed half-step god-refining realm cultivator fail to see through this individual? It was inconceivable, absolutely impossible. Aside from his master, no one had ever achieved such a feat. It must be that he had employed some secret method to obscure his aura. Returning to His Highness the Prince. This individual possesses a treasure that shields his consciousness, making it impossible for my subordinate to discern his true nature. Oh, the first prince's expression turned grave. All present, heed my command. Gather all your strength to assault this individual. Those who succeed in slaying him shall be rewarded with a premium-grade earthly artifact. The cultivators suspended in midair found themselves in a dilemma. Ahead loomed an unknown master capable of dispersing their ranks, while behind them lay the irrevocable decree of the first prince. Each option posed significant challenges. I care not. I shall claim the earthly artifact. Ultimately, Some cultivators could not resist the allure and charged forth with their swords. The others followed suit, propelled by the possibility of success. After all, that was a premium-grade earthly artifact, equivalent in rank to the grand formation of the Fire Nation's palace. Kill, kill, kill. A chorus of battle cries rose, and the cultivators surged once more towards Ji Xian. A swarm of flies. This seems never-ending. Ji Xian expressed his displeasure. The repeated interruptions had become quite vexing. He had initially been reluctant to engage these younger practitioners. However, trouble had found him. Sword of Death. Ji Xian activated the death sword technique, cleaving through the air. In an instant, a black sword radiance, extending several dozen zhang, arched outward. The cultivators in the sky hastily mobilized their energy to evade. Strange, why can't I move? I can't manipulate the laws. They cursed, realizing that the sword radiance suppressed the very essence of spiritual laws. Fear and astonishment gripped the cultivators. Uft, uft, uft. The remaining few at the divine infant stage erupted into blood mist, dissipating into the air. The first prince's complexion shifted dramatically. How is this possible? Ping Ku, quickly summon your beast tied to thwart him. Under command, Ping Ku steeled himself. Ji Xian was far too terrifying. He even felt a tinge of anxiety. Could this person be a master of the spirit refinement stage? The pages of the Beastmaster's tome fluttered, revealing a radiant glow as over a dozen ferocious beasts manifested in the open space. Along with the previous ones, there were now more than 30 in total. At Ping Ku's command, the beasts surged towards Ji Xian like a tidal wave. Yet, Ji Xian appeared to disregard them entirely, merely gesturing with a finger, unleashing a black sword radiance that swept low across the field. The earth trembled, and the beasts emitted mournful cries. When the dust settled, all present were left in shock. Over 30 divine infant stage beasts, utterly obliterated. The first prince gritted his teeth, beads of cold sweat trickling down his brow. Could he truly withstand this individual? Your Highness, should I personally confront him? Ping Ku inquired, as the beasts in the jade mine were nearing transformation and would soon be at their disposal. At this moment, Ping Ku stepped forward. This person likely has reached the spirit refinement stage. I shall engage him to buy time for the emergence of our own spirit refinement stage beasts. Is he truly of the spirit refinement stage? The first prince asked. Indeed. A sense of calm washed over the first prince. With the presence of a spirit refinement stage force, what was there to fear? Once the spirit refinement master emerged, would this individual not be at their mercy? His methods are extraordinary. It would be a pity to eliminate him, the first prince mused. Reassured, he smiled and said, Your Highness, you cannot possibly be thinking. Ping Ku queried, sensing the first prince's intentions. Indeed, this course of action would also serve to humiliate my arrogant seventh brother. He stepped forward, standing before the high platform, and addressed Ji Xian below. I offer you a chance. Submit to me. Chapter 32. Reunion with the ancient offspring, the seventh prince. Positioned at the rear of the battlefield, felt a surge of fury wash over him upon hearing the first prince's proclamation. How audacious of my elder brother to openly vie for followers. Unbelievable. He then turned his gaze to Ji Xian, only to find him unmoved, which brought him a momentary sense of relief. In the center of the arena, Ji Xian regarded the first prince with a bemused smile. Are you truly this foolish? The first prince's expression faltered, turning crimson with embarrassment. What do you mean by that? Are you so brazen as to reject my kindness? Do you not realize my capabilities are beyond your comprehension? Today, having witnessed your potential, I have developed an appreciation for your talents. Should I ascend to the throne of the Fire Nation, I promise you shall not be slighted. At this, Ji Xian could not contain his laughter. The first prince and the seventh prince seemed cut from the same cloth. This individual still believed himself to be a pinnacle practitioner at the divine infant realm. His perspective tragically limited. Previously, Ji Xian had already discerned that the man beside the prince, a southerner, was on the cusp of the spirit refinement realm. Furthermore, a ferocious beast of the same realm lurked within the mind behind them, alongside the Fire Nation's ancient ancestor, who had subtly breached the spirit refinement realm. The first prince, merely at the mid-stage of the core formation realm, was tragically narrow-minded, believing himself to be the master of all, when in fact, he was merely constraining himself. He assumed that the spirit refinement realm represented the apex of power near the Fire Nation, convinced no one else could wield such control. How laughable! How lamentable! As the first prince observed Ji Xian's smile, anger bubbled within him. He felt his authority was being challenged. Ping Ku, go! Teach him a lesson. Ping Ku's expression darkened. Yet he approached nonetheless. You are not capable. Summon the great black serpent from the mountains. Ji Xian ordered the slowly advancing Ping Ku. At these words, Ping Ku's heart trembled. How could he possibly sense the existence within the mind? That ferocious beast had taken him 49 days of relentless searching to uncover even the slightest hint of its presence. Yet, this man spoke it as if it were common knowledge. I know not what you speak of. I require no assistance to deal with you, Ping Ku declared, maintaining his composure. I said you are unworthy. Did you not hear me? Ji Xian's voice boomed, his aura radiating outward, sending Ping Ku hurtling hundreds of meters away. With a cough of blood, Ping Ku propped himself against the stone wall, realizing the man before him was indeed a practitioner of the spirit refinement realm. This was trouble, he thought. In his palm, an ancient tome began to emanate a faint golden glow. By sacrificing a portion of my blood essence, I should be able to hasten the transformation of the black serpent within the mine. With a spurt of blood, he drenched the ancient tome. Instantly, a golden beam shot skyward, transforming into a radiant streak that vanished into the jade mine. Soon, the entire mountain began to tremble. What is happening? The seventh prince shouted from the rear, an overwhelming sense of dread clinging to him. Lady Lu beside him shared in this unease. Boom. The sound of the earth quaking grew ever louder, as if something was about to burst forth from beneath the surface. Retreat, you two little ones. Ji Xian communicated to the fire spirit and Ling Yun behind him. The two obediently withdrew, understanding that an entity beyond their capability was about to emerge. Suddenly, with a thunderous crash, a massive head broke through the distant mountains. It was a colossal black python, adorned with two horns and eyes like crimson embers. Could it be a python on the verge of transforming into a jiao? Ji Xian found it most intriguing. As serpents grow larger, they evolve from snake to python, then to anaconda, and finally to jiao, ultimately becoming dragons. The anaconda represents a stage of evolution within the serpent family, and this one before him was evidently on the cusp of metamorphosis. How could it have attained the form of an anaconda while still being at the fifth level of the spirit refinement realm? Its cultivation level did not align with its current stage. Typically, the spirit refinement realm corresponds to the python stage. Only upon entering the sacred realm does one have the potential to become a jiao. Could it be due to its bloodline? With his fiery gaze activated, Ji Xian began to scrutinize the great anaconda, another ancient relic. Ji Xian mused in astonishment. His mind, however, was already tainted and manipulated, and the protective mechanism of the Dao patterns triggered, causing the beast-taming technique of Nanjiao to dissipate. Alas, he had missed yet another opportunity to grasp an ancient treasure. The Dao patterns of ancient relics are inherently natural, typically inscribed upon the surface of their bodies. Yet, when faced with peril, they often self-destruct the surface patterns to conceal their secret arts within. The great anaconda before him likely had been attacked previously by the crown prince and his ilk. The massive serpent had fully emerged from the earth, its body stretching an impressive 10 miles, winding ominously between the mountains, exuding an aura of rage and bloodlust. The onlookers in the distance were rendered speechless by the sight of the formidable serpent. This was the spirit refinement realm. Granny Lu felt her heart race. In all her years, she had never encountered such a being. Your Highness, we must retreat at once, she urged the seventh prince beside her. Yet the seventh prince remained undeterred, gazing intently at Ji Xian's silhouette. Senior Ji, how will you respond to this? He thought, a glimmer of anticipation in his heart. The crown prince eyed the massive serpent before him with trepidation. Had it not been under his control, he might have fled on the spot. So this is the spirit refinement realm? The crown prince felt a flicker of delight at the terrifying presence. With such power, he could dominate the lands of the eastern wilderness. Kill him, he commanded. Under the crown prince's coercion, the great serpent turned its head towards Ji Xian, its crimson tongue slithering from its gaping maw, releasing waves of toxic mist. Little serpent, do not make this encounter too dull for me, Ji Xian replied with a radiant smile. The Sword God King body still had many extraordinary manifestations yet to be displayed. This was the perfect opportunity for him to refine his skills. It had been quite some time since he had encountered a fellow cultivator of the same tier, and now he felt a rush of excitement. With a deafening roar, the great anaconda lunged at Ji Xian, drawing forth the heavenly rainbow sacred sword. He positioned it before him, uttering a series of ancient incantations. Sword of life. Instantly, a white barrier materialized in front of him, upon which the Taiji symbol rotated, adorned with numerous ink-splashed true dragons and phoenixes that danced across its surface. At this moment, it seemed as though a world had unfolded before Ji Xian, where countless divine beasts wandered, vitality pervading the air, and an ineffable mystery enveloping everything. Suddenly, a serpent's massive head collided with the barrier, causing the mountains to resonate and the earth to tremble. What an awe-inspiring force. The crown prince's eyes sparkled with intensity, previously intent on subduing Ji Xian. The overwhelming sense of pressure he exuded had left a profound impact. However, upon witnessing the might of this colossal serpent, he abandoned that notion. With such formidable combat prowess at his side, why should he fear Ji Xian? The seventh prince and his companions were left in shock, as the residual waves from the great serpent's upheaval forced him to spit out a mouthful of black blood. Even from 100 miles away, a mere aftershock had injured his insides. What fate awaited Ji Xian, who was at the epicenter of this disturbance? Considering this, he couldn't help but feel a twinge of concern for Ji Xian. Perhaps his expectations of Ji Xian had been excessively high. The spiritual shock imparted by the white-clad sword immortal paled in comparison to the tangible harm inflicted by the great serpent. As the dust began to settle, a spectacle of black and white light emerged. When the onlookers finally discerned the scene, their hearts were shaken to the core. In that moment, they realized the depth of their misunderstanding. Chapter 33, Ji Xian battles Saint Thunder. The ancestor arrived. Several mountain ranges had already crumbled under the tremors caused by the great serpent. As the swirling dust gradually cleared, People began to comprehend the situation at the heart of the battlefield. A barrier, swirling with black and white energies, slowly revolved, standing before Ji Xian. Within the barrier, Ji Xian remained upright, exuding an air of dignity and grace, untouched by harm. Turning their gaze to the colossal serpent of the spirit refinement realm across from him, they noted that one of its thunderous horns had snapped, purple blood oozing from the wound. A piercing howl echoed as the serpent hastily retreated, its purple blood cascading into the valley. How could this be possible? Ping Ku was left dumbfounded, scarcely able to believe the unfolding events. The two horns atop the serpent, known as purple thunder horns, were crucial during its tribulation, allowing it to endure the fierce heavenly lightning for over half of its trial. Who could have imagined that in such a confrontation, one would break upon striking Ji Xian? The serpent's anguished roar only served to further incite its wrath. It glared with its blood-red eyes, emitting waves of faint light that rippled outward. My soul power is gradually waning, thought the seventh prince, feeling dizzy and unsteady. Lu Momo, too, was affected. She summoned a small bell, releasing a mental barrier that provided some relief. Such is the sorcery of the Serpent Clan. The crown prince on the high platform was equally impacted. This creature even harms its own kind? Witnessing this, Ping Ku swiftly produced a talisman and affixed it to the crown prince. Your Highness, my subordinate's Taoist cultivation is limited, and I am unable to fully control this serpent. Please forgive me. The crown prince waved his hand dismissively. This great serpent cannot vanquish Ji Xian? Ping Ku nodded. It appears that Ji Xian has likely reached the spirit refinement realm. The crown prince inhaled sharply. What are the odds of success for this operation? Ping Ku furrowed his brow, hoping to buy some time against Ji Xian. The ancestor had already broken through to the divine refinement realm. If it were 2 against 1, Ji Xian would undoubtedly be defeated. The higher a cultivator's level, the poorer their capability in combat when facing multiple opponents, even more so in this instance. The crown prince's face lit up with pleasure upon hearing this. Truly, as an elite of the southern Zhao kingdom, Ping Ku, should this endeavor succeed, you shall undoubtedly earn great merit. Ping Ku smiled faintly, yet he fell into contemplation. The development of events seemed not to align with his expectations. The pale-eyed giant serpent continued to radiate its gaze, while Ji Xian remained stationary, intently sensing the power emanating from it. The illusionary mental treasure technique appeared to be of a lower heavenly grade. Regrettably, it holds no utility against me. Fiery eyes. 2 beams of fire erupted from Ji Xian's eyes, dispersing the serpent's gaze entirely. Enraged, the massive serpent could not tolerate this human's repeated evasion of its attacks. As a noble ancient species, it would not be trampled upon. The serpent writhed, its scales shifting as it absorbed the spiritual energy from the air, swelling to an impressive 30 miles in length. Furthermore, its aura surged violently, faintly brushing against the 8th level of divine refinement. Ping Ku sensed his control over the serpent weakening further. Now this is more like it. Sword God King's fist. Ji Xian formed a fist seal, launching a strike. In an instant, a pale golden fist shadow materialized, its fingers clenched like a mountain in stature. This was not a technique from any martial art, but a fist style innovated by Ji Xian inspired by his understanding of the sword path. The strike, imbued with countless sword intents, was unleashed. The serpent, brimming with fury, disregarded the might of the fist and attempted to block it with its own body. Crack! The punch landed squarely, severing one of the serpent's purple lightning horns with a resounding crack. Despite the excruciating pain, it did not retreat. Instead, it wielded its sharp tail. Striking swiftly, the tail's sharp scales glinted menacingly like a divine sword slicing through the air, aiming accurately at Ji Xian's position. Ji Xian, perceiving the imminent danger, swiftly evaded, soaring to the side of the serpent's head, delivering another fierce punch. The air erupted with a thunderous roar as the serpent's head was forcefully driven into the mountainside, creating a deep indentation. Roar! The serpent, infuriated, thrashed wildly, struggling against its predicament. Its colossal form agitated the mountains, uprooting vegetation, sending debris flying in a chaotic tempest. Countless birds and beasts were caught unawares, crushed beneath the serpent's rampage. Both the crown prince and the 7th prince's retinues suffered casualties in the tumult. Boom! Suddenly, dark thunderclouds gathered on the horizon. A vast expanse of purplish-black lightning surged forth, swelling ominously. The serpent had summoned the thunderous might. Was it attempting to undergo a tribulation? The 7th prince gasped in shock. Perhaps so, Lu Momo replied. Ji Xian gazed toward the heavens. Before you have even attained the saint level, you are already courting your 3rd calamity. It seems you wish for mutual destruction. However, your cultivation is still lacking, unable to fully harness the holy level lightning calamity. Ultimately, it is but a trivial matter for me. With confidence and composure, he fixed his gaze upon the sky, seemingly awaiting the impending thunderous tribulation. The crown prince behind him could no longer remain seated. Pingshan, how could this be? This thunder tribulation has included us as well, he exclaimed in a state of panic. The tribulation of the divine refinement realm. What right does a mere core formation cultivator have to be here? Pingshan's face was etched with despair as he lamented, I have already lost control over it. Boom. A massive bolt of lightning descended, striking the ground and instantly splitting it open, revealing a pitch-black crevice from which a faint red glow emanated. Above the sea of thunder, cries of battle erupted. Ji Xian focused his gaze and beheld an inexplicable surge of holy power arising from within the thunderclouds. Even though it was an incomplete holy tribulation, it was still beyond the endurance of the people below. A colossal serpent slowly rose from the shattered mountains, its body radiating a brilliant white light. It had already fallen unconscious, yet the tribulation showed no signs of abating. It is said that holy tribulations possess their own heavenly consciousness and will not cease even if the beings undergoing the tribulation perish. The thunderclouds churned like a raging inferno, and streaks of light occasionally sliced through the darkened sky. A fierce wind howled, stirring up a tempest of sand. In the face of this cataclysmic scene, Ji Xian felt a thrill of excitement. His purpose for this journey, aside from pursuing the Blood Jade's clues, was precisely the quest for challenge, was it not? With this thought, Ji Xian soared into the sky, rushing towards the clouds. He quickly caught up with the ascending giant serpent. The heavenly tribulation seemed to take notice of his presence, its might intensifying, as if reprimanding Ji Xian for daring to interfere with the tribulation of other beings. Boom! Amidst the storm of purple lightning, a sudden flash of golden lightning appeared. Ji Xian sensed a tremendous surge of holy power. You little serpent. You never anticipated that your self-destructive act would bring me this opportunity. Indeed, he intended to withstand this sacred lightning. Should he succeed, his body would undergo a transformation, and his strength would soar. Should he fail, he would suffer grave injuries. Come on, Ji Xian shouted, channeling the overwhelming sword intent from within the Sword God King. Once more, an ancient horn sounded. At Ji Xian's side, 9 ancient horns materialized, radiating divine light, exuding an air of solemnity. As the horns sounded, a cacophony of battle cries followed. Ji Xian turned to witness countless heroic spirits wielding divine weapons manifesting, surging forth with him towards the heavens. The sacred lightning was incensed. How dare a mere mortal provoke such divine power? The golden lightning transformed into a golden dragon, hurtling downwards to confront the army of heroic spirits head-on. At the moment of collision, a series of resounding gusts echoed through the air. A shockwave stretching thousands of miles radiated outward, obliterating countless mountains. The sky blazed with brilliance. The 7th prince and others felt as if the world had momentarily turned white. Then, a tremendous rumbling followed. A dark figure suddenly plummeted from the sky. It was Ji Xian. He crashed into the mountain, shattering it to pieces, exposing countless red jade mines glimmering beneath the surface. Ji Xian staggered to his feet, appearing exceedingly weak. Yet only he knew that the holy power within him had intensified several-fold compared to before, ensuring that even his most casual strikes would be imbued with holy strength. Because of his resistance, he had single-handedly withstood all the tribulations in this region. The people below remained unscathed. At that moment, another gust of wind roared from the horizon. An elderly man clad in a dark robe descended on a divine rainbow. It is the ancestor. He has transcended the realm of spiritual refinement. The crown prince immediately recognized him and sensed a profound essence emanating from his being. Ancestor. Swiftly eliminate that Ji Xian. He is in a state of weakness. By removing him, we shall secure the full support of Nanzhao and dominate the eastern wilderness. The crown prince was ecstatic. The ancestor, revived through his means, had always obeyed his commands and those of Nanzhao. With the ancestor's assistance, he would be invincible. Upon hearing this, the ancestor of the Fire Nation cast a glance at Ji Xian, and a flicker of astonishment crossed his eyes. How has the senior been struck by lightning? No, he has grown stronger. A dense aura of sacred principles swirled around Ji Xian's form. His spirit stirred as he soared towards Ji Xian. Ancestor, yes, it is he. Quickly slay him. The ancestor of the Fire Nation flew to Ji Xian's side and knelt on one knee. I pay my respects to you, senior. Upon uttering these words, the entire assembly was left in shock. The crown prince exclaimed, what? The 7th prince remarked, Chapter 34, The Crown Prince's Total Defeat. Refining the 10,000-year jade essence to break through to the void realm. In the center of the sunken arena, the sight of the Fire Nation ancestor kneeling and addressing Ji Xian as senior astounded everyone. According to the crown prince, the Fire Nation ancestor had already surpassed the realm of spiritual refinement. Yet even so, he still knelt in deference to Ji Xian. Does this not imply that even our nation's mightiest ancestor bows before him? How foolish was I, a mere prince, to have once harbored thoughts of recruiting him as a subordinate? The 7th prince's expression turned despondent, a bitter smile gracing his lips. In that moment, he comprehended that everything he had arrogantly believed was nothing more than a childish farce in the presence of Ji Xian. He was deeply shaken. Even more astonished was Lu Mama. Recalling her previous attitude and the words spoken to Ji Xian, her body trembled, her true energy beginning to spiral chaotically. Meanwhile, the crown prince stood agape, rendered speechless by shock. Gradually, this astonishment morphed into fury. Why? Why would the ancestor kneel and address him as senior? I cannot accept this. The crown prince exclaimed, Ancestor, do you not realize the gravity of your actions? That is our enemy from the Fire Nation. The ancestor of the Fire Nation arose, turning back with a frosty demeanor. Wretch, how can you fathom the might of Senior Ji? The Crown Prince retorted. So you have entirely betrayed Nanzhao, ancestor. Are you aware of the consequences? Enough. Will you not surrender and await your fate? What Nanzhao? Our Fire Nation has always been a force within the 100 Sects Alliance. The ancestor countered. You. Well then, what a splendid 100 Sects Alliance it is. Without the support of my mother's family, could you have been successfully revived? Were it not for employing Nanzhao's secret methods to eliminate the Fire Emperor and Princess 19 to gather spiritual essence, could you have broken through to the realm of spiritual refinement? As the Crown Prince spoke, he cast a glance toward Huoling. Huolinger was taken aback. My mother has met with misfortune? This news struck her mind like a thunderbolt. Her hand, gripping the weapon, began to tremble violently, and her body weakened, on the verge of collapsing. Seeing this, Ling Yun swiftly stepped forward to support Huolinger. I journeyed a great distance to the Qingyuan sect to seek a master, and my sole purpose was to rescue my mother. Yet, who could have anticipated that she would be ensnared in despair? Upon hearing the words of the Crown Prince, Ji Xian could not help but admire him inwardly. This Crown Prince, with a mind as intricate as it is ruthless, could unravel the conflict between both parties with a single utterance. Even with defeat imminent, he sought to use Huolinger to eliminate the ancestral figure of the Fire Nation. The only flaw in his scheme was that he had chosen the wrong target. Upon hearing this, the ancestor let out a disdainful snort, asserting that his breakthrough into the divine refinement realm was achieved through the flame mark implanted within his body by a predecessor, and had nothing to do with the Fire Emperor or the young lady, Shurjiu. Ji Xian nodded in acknowledgement, having already discerned the peculiarities within the ancestor's body. This individual had absorbed a trace of the pure essence of the flame from the mark, proving to be someone of potential. Huolinger cast a questioning glance at Ji Xian, who nodded in reassurance, allowing her to regain her composure. The Crown Prince was left utterly dumbfounded. Who exactly was Ji Xian? With a single sword stroke, he had extinguished dozens of divine infant realm cultivators. With a mere punch, he had rendered a primordial relic of the divine refinement realm incapacitated. What was even more outrageous was that he could cultivate a divine refinement being with just a single mark. Predecessor, how should I deal with this unworthy descendant? The ancestor of the Fire Nation inquired respectfully. Ji Xian waved his hand dismissively, saying, handle your family matters on your own. Just ensure he does not die easily. Yes. The ancestor replied, turning to stride toward the Crown Prince. Feeling the overwhelming pressure of the divine refinement realm, the Crown Prince's body felt as heavy as lead, and the dread of death enveloped him. Wait, I wish to exchange my life for another, he called out in haste. Oh, how so? Ji Xian seemed to have an inkling. If you kill me now, the Lady Shurjiu will accompany me in death. The Crown Prince replied with a sinister smirk, knowing that Ji Xian and his companions had first sought out the Lady Shurjiu within the palace, indicating their utmost concern for her life. He still held one final card to play. Ji Xian produced the primordial mirror, and as its surface shimmered with radiant light, the outline of a robust man materialized. As the figure became clearer, the Crown Prince's expression of malice and arrogance turned to one of despair and even fury. Who else could that figure be but Duan Meng? The Crown Prince was left in a daze. Ji Xian, you bastard. The ancestor of the Fire Nation, sensing Ji Xian's rising anger, immediately unleashed his innate treasure upon his own direct descendant in a furious onslaught. After a cacophony of cries, the Crown Prince met his bitter end. It was only in his final moments that he comprehended the futility of his demise. Meanwhile, on a nearby hill, a figure flickered. Did I permit you to leave? Ji Xian floated upward, addressing Ping Ku, who was preparing to flee. Friend, you cannot kill me. I have the entire Southern Zhao kingdom behind me. The Wu clan of Southern Zhao possesses formidable strength. Should they intervene, your borders will crumble like a wall of mud. If you let me go, I will advocate on your behalf to spare your forces. He grew increasingly animated as he spoke. Enough with the idle chatter. Come here, I have some questions for you. Before Ping Ku could react, Ji Xian waved his hand, and he instantly appeared before him. I ask you, what processes must this jade mine undergo before the blood jade is produced? As Ping Ku was ensnared by Ji Xian's fiery gaze, a shiver coursed through him. I will comply, but you must allow me to live, he said slowly. The jade within this mine is merely one of the raw materials. It must subsequently be transported to the blood collecting site in Tianluo City to be infused with a special essence. What is this essence? Ji Xian inquired. It is a mixture of the blood of the Nanzhao people and that of the Jinzhou folk. The Witch clan does not originally belong to the Eastern Wasteland. They are an outsider race. Their blood is overwhelmingly potent. If not diluted, even the spiritual jade cannot withstand it, nor can the people of the Eastern Wasteland. Ji Xian noted with a hint of surprise in his brow. Is there anything else to disclose? He pressed. For now, that is all I know. The rest is held by the higher echelons of the Witch clan. Ji Xian, subtly channeling the soul-controlling lantern, discerned that this man spoke the truth. That will suffice. You may leave, Ji Xian gestured dismissively. Thank you. But, before Ping Ku could finish his words, a blade of energy pierced through his forehead. Take heed in your next life, Ji Xian murmured, incinerating him as an offering to the heavens. Under the gaze of Ping Ku's terrified and incredulous eyes, Ji Xian made his way toward the mine's entrance. Ji Xian had sensed something amiss with this mine. His consciousness unfurled instantly, enveloping a span of 1,000 miles underground. Such dense energy. Could it be the ancient jade essence mentioned by the seventh prince? In a flash, Ji Xian vanished from the surface and reappeared thousands of feet beneath. A colossal red crystal obstructed his path. The crystal was translucent and vibrant, within which a large mass of spiritual essence pulsated. He reached out, delivering a punch that shattered the crystalline barrier, extracting the glowing essence. System, what is this? Response to host. This is the ancient mine's spiritual source. All spiritual energy within the mine converges here. System alert. This spiritual source can be directly absorbed for a breakthrough in cultivation. Without hesitation, Ji Xian integrated it into his being. The essence transformed into a gentle stream within him, nourishing his internal organs and ultimately coalescing within his dantian. At that moment, the aura of his cultivation underwent a transformation. Ninth layer of spirit refinement. Perfected spirit refinement. Breakthrough to the void realm. First layer of void realm. Second layer of void realm. The palm-sized spiritual source dimmed within him. This vein's spiritual source has enabled me to transcend 4 realms. Aside from the system's enhancement, this is my first time achieving such a leap. As he contemplated this, a commotion erupted ahead. Boom. With the disappearance of the spiritual essence within the mine, all the jade and crystals began to collapse. The ground trembled, and debris flew as the mine threatened to disintegrate. Just as Ji Xian prepared to depart, he suddenly noticed a glimmer in the corner. Approaching, he retrieved the luminous object. It was the egg of the great python. Chapter 35. 500,000 times return on the exceptional true dragon egg within the world of the primordial mirror. In the impending collapse of the underground, Ji Xian observed the intricate patterns on the surface of the egg with a calm demeanor. It was a form of ancient spiritual technique, albeit of a rather low grade. Well, it is better than nothing. With a flicker of his consciousness, Ji Xian inscribed all the intricate patterns upon the egg. After a period of refinement, he mastered this precious technique, which possessed a blend of mesmerizing, enchanting, and disruptive effects. The fiery gaze he previously wielded was a technique from the Burning Heaven Codex, primarily focused on offensive capabilities. In contrast, the technique of the Great Python proved to be a practical utility. Observing the collapsing surroundings, Ji Xian realized that without the protection of spiritual energy, he would have been buried beneath the earth long ago. It was time to depart. With a sharp burst of sword energy, he vanished from his location. Upon resurfacing, he discovered that everyone had retreated several miles away to another mountainous region. The ground he had traversed had already crumbled, and the once vibrant jade stones had lost their luster. All the spiritual essence had been absorbed by Ji Xian, leaving the land barren for centuries to come. Meanwhile, Fire Spirit was inquiring about her father's condition from the ancestor. Suddenly, the void trembled, and Ji Xian appeared beside them. Master. Ling Yan stepped forward to pay his respects. The others quickly sensed Ji Xian's presence. How has the senior become even stronger? The ancestor of the Fire Nation, feeling Ji Xian's aura, realized that he could no longer gauge his cultivation level. In just a single day, Ji Xian had undergone 2 transformations. The first was during the Thunder Tribulation, where he absorbed a vast amount of holy power and could now initially harness it. The second transformation emerged as he surfaced from the underground, his aura now profoundly deep, as if he had achieved yet another breakthrough. The ancestor of the Fire Nation could not help but sigh internally. This individual, barely over 30 in age, had reached such heights, leaving those of them who had lived for a millennium utterly humbled. I have met Senior Ji. The 7th Prince and Lu Mama hurriedly approached to pay their respects, no longer daring to be negligent. The man before them could shatter the heavens with a mere wave of his hand and extinguish thunder tribulations. How could they still harbor any ill intentions? Ji Xian fixed his gaze upon the 7th Prince and Lu Mama, remaining silent for an extended period. Time passed slowly. Suddenly, Lu Mama knelt, her head bowed, continuously pleading, "Please spare me, Senior. I acted solely out of respect for the palace's customs and for the 7th Prince. I meant no harm." The 7th Prince, witnessing this, also stepped forward to apologize. "Senior, we truly did not intend any offense." Ji Xian coldly replied, "As Fire Spirit's elder brother, your conduct has been acceptable. As for your inner thoughts, I shall not pursue them." His gaze shifted to Lu Mama. "Die. Senior, no. I beg you. I acted only under the 7th Princess." A chilling scream erupted. Lu Mama's limbs were shattered by the sword energy. "Please, Senior, do not kill me. I am guilty." Then, amidst the swirling sword energy, Lu Mama's body disintegrated, blood and flesh scattering, as she met her tragic end. The 7th Prince, witnessing Lu Mama's horrific fate, clenched his fists tightly. She was his trusted confidant, and her death would be gravely disadvantageous for him. Yet, he could do nothing. Ji Xian sparing his life was already a gift from the heavens. Fire Spirit watched coldly, showing no intention of pleading for mercy. Meanwhile, Ling Yan's eyes were fixated on the egg in Ji Xian's hand, saliva dripping from his mouth. He could not help but inquire, "Master, will there be an additional meal tonight?" Ji Xian cast him a sidelong glance. This second disciple, not only foolish but also a glutton. "Here, take this." and ensure it hatches without indulging. Ji Xian directly thrust the egg into his hands. Beep. Host successfully gifted the ancient species egg of the crystal sulfur python. Detected that the host has gifted a living creature for the first time. The system has activated a super explosion rate. Current explosion rate is random. 50,000 times explosion rate has been triggered. Congratulations, host, you have acquired a superior true dragon egg X1. What the hell? What the hell? What the hell? Ji Xian could not restrain himself from exclaiming thrice. Ignoring the puzzled expressions of those around him, a divine rainbow flashed, and he vanished into the horizon. What happened to Master? Quillinger asked, puzzled. Perhaps he regretted giving me the egg. After all, such a large egg could provide several meals. Ling Yun, cradling the massive snake egg, began to study it intently. Meanwhile, Ji Xian had already returned to his chamber. He sat cross-legged on the mat, perusing the information regarding the true dragon egg on the system panel. True dragon egg, an egg laid by the ancient celestial beast, the true dragon. Requires hatching in an environment rich in spiritual energy and must undergo 3 evolutionary stages, the Qi Jiao and Long stages, before maturing into an emperor. Celestial beast? Emperor. Ji Xian was profoundly shocked. It appeared his perception of Ling Yun would need to change. He was essentially his own lucky charm. How long until maturity? At least 1,000 years. Ji Xian gazed at the egg quietly resting in the system space, suddenly tempted to stew it for soup. It had been less than half a year since he traversed here. 1,000 years felt exceedingly long. Although he had already attained a lifespan of 2,000 years by breaking through to the void realm, 1,000 years was a significant span. Having given it, he couldn't let it go to waste. Wait. System, does the true dragon fall under the category of ancient species? To be precise, it belongs to the ancient race, which is a higher classification than ancient relic species. Can I cultivate its treasure arts? Yes. I apologize, dear egg. I acknowledge my earlier rudeness. Ji Xian expressed sincerely. Next, he planned to create an optimal hatching environment for the true dragon egg. Although the cave abode was rich in spiritual energy, it was not his territory. In the coming days, he intended to eradicate all demonic forces within the Fire Nation. This precious item must accompany him at all times. Ji Xian paced back and forth. A thought struck him, the Hunyuan Heavenly Mirror. He recalled his spatial treasure. The space within should be expansive enough to establish a grand celestial realm. Ji Xian summoned a bronze mirror, and as the surface shimmered with ethereal light, he stepped inside. A corridor of time and space materialized, leading Ji Xian to the junction of 2 realms. Truth be told, this was his first visit to the interior of this artifact. After traversing several dozen yards, the scenery before him gradually came into focus. An endless plain lay before him, adorned with towering ancient trees. Rolling hills were carpeted with vibrant flowers, creating a breathtaking tapestry that met the azure sky at the horizon, stitched together by a faint line. As Ji Xian soared through the skies, he employed his divine consciousness to explore this realm. The established territory stretched approximately 10,000 miles. While the world's edge was shrouded in chaos, though faint silhouettes of mountains and seas could be discerned. System. How does one procure the materials necessary for upgrading the primordial heaven realm? Ji Xian pondered, believing that all of this was intrinsically linked to the realm's grade. Reply to the host. Materials can be obtained by devouring high-grade refining materials and through the system's lottery. You also have a lottery? Ji Xian captured a piece of information he had never encountered before. Indeed, it can be triggered when a disciple breaks through to the corresponding realm or under other specific circumstances. At the current stage, a disciple can trigger a lottery chance upon breaking through to the divine infant realm, and correspondingly, the grade of the techniques rewarded upon accepting disciples will also be elevated. My goodness, how formidable. Ji Xian suddenly felt that he had not fully explored the system's capabilities. There is nothing the host cannot imagine. There is nothing the system cannot achieve. After a period of contemplation, Ji Xian discovered a colossal ancient tree. Its stout branches coiled like a dragon's body, deeply rooted in the earth. The tree's crown spread out for hundreds of miles, enveloped in a rich aura of spiritual energy. You shall remain here, in this place of abundance. Ji Xian then arranged a spirit-gathering formation and began to study the intricate runes inscribed upon the egg. The runes were exceedingly complex, causing even Ji Xian to feel dizzy after only a brief examination. Yet, he was unwilling to surrender. How could he disregard the imperial laws now within his grasp? Thus, Ji Xian immersed himself within the true dragon's nest day in and day out, as time swiftly passed. Chapter 36. True Dragon Techniques and the Arrival of the Fire Emperor on the Grand Avenue of the Palace, a grand procession of ceremonial chariots, adorned with gold and stretching 100 feet long, moved gracefully forward. Passing officials, maids, and eunuchs paused to gaze curiously in that direction. Today, His Majesty is making quite a grand exit. The palace is abuzz with excitement, a scarlet-robed official remarked, perplexed. Yesterday's news spoke of a morning court session. Yet today it was announced that it was cancelled. What could be so significant as to eclipse state affairs? Another inquired. That is where your understanding falters. A great personage currently resides within the palace. Even the Fire Emperor dares not treat it lightly. An official declared, raising his white tablet with a smile. His words piqued the interest of those around him, drawing a crowd of officials eager to learn more. "Oh, Lu Yushi, please, do enlighten us," someone urged impatiently. "I have heard that within the Golden Dragon Chariot, the 19th princess gazed affectionately at the middle-aged man seated above her. Why the sigh, your majesty?" The Fire Emperor turned to her, his eyes filled with sorrow and regret. He had not anticipated that the one who rescued the Fire Nation was the long-neglected ally of the 19th princess. "Mei Nyang, have you encountered that esteemed elder?" The Fire Emperor inquired. "I have indeed met him. He is the master of Ling'er," the 19th princess replied. "Ah, I see. He has only just awakened and is yet to comprehend the current situation within the palace. This time, I implore you, Mei Nyang, to advocate fervently on our behalf, beseeching the elder for the safety of our Fire Nation. Your majesty need not say more. I shall endeavor with all my might." The sound of the chariot gradually faded, disappearing around the corner of the avenue. Meanwhile, within the primordial heaven mirror, Ji Xian sat cross-legged atop the crown of a great tree, delving into the profound intricacies of the true dragon treasure technique. Beside him, the true dragon egg radiated a golden luminescence. Slowly, he opened his eyes and exhaled a long breath of white mist. After more than a month of contemplation, he had only managed to grasp the first move, the dragon's summoning hand. The complexity of this true dragon treasure technique was indeed bewildering. Little did Ji Xian realize that, had outsiders overheard his words, they would be driven to exasperation. Generally, cultivators outside would spend nearly half a year merely to gain a basic understanding of a low-tier spiritual or yellow-tier technique. The true dragon treasure technique he was studying, albeit incomplete due to the unborn dragon, was at least of imperial grade. For formidable beings from the higher realms, mastering an imperial grade technique within a century would be considered an extraordinary feat, even for those of unparalleled talent. During this period of cultivation, Ji Xian had also integrated the previously acquired dragon's soaring 9 transformations into the true dragon treasure technique, breaking through temporal constraints. This meant that as long as he operated the true dragon treasure technique, he could unleash an instantaneous power exceeding his own tenfold. Sighing, he acknowledged the saturation of his training and decided it was time to exit. Ji Xian rose from the primordial heaven mirror. Upon returning to his chamber, he sensed a caravan approaching from 100 paces away. Was it the Fire Emperor and Lady 19? Ji Xian felt a surge of surprise. What could these two want from him? Perhaps to express their gratitude? It was possible. Those in the palace often relished such elaborate rituals. Soon, the Fire Emperor and Lady 19 entered the main hall hand in hand. The moment he laid eyes on Ji Xian, the Fire Emperor was taken aback. How could he be so young? He had originally envisioned the elder who would save the Fire Nation as a sage with an ethereal presence. Coupled with the elder's identity as Fire Ling'er's master, an elderly figure perfectly aligned with his mental image. Yet, the youth before him appeared scarcely over 20. "I pay my respects to the elder," the Fire Emperor exclaimed with excitement, preparing to kneel with Lady 19. Observing this, Ji Xian furrowed his brow, releasing a surge of spiritual power to elevate both of them. He then added, "As the Emperor of a nation and father of Fire Ling'er, and since we regard each other as equals, there is no need for such formality." "Thank you, esteemed master," they replied in unison. "What brings you here?" Ji Xian inquired. "To report to the esteemed master. I wish to host a banquet in the palace to express gratitude for your assistance to our Fire Nation in front of the court's officials," the Fire Emperor began. But Ji Xian interrupted him. "A banquet to entertain me must surely have ulterior motives." The Fire Emperor seemed intent on extracting a promise from him in the presence of the officials. Ji Xian had no desire to entangle himself in worldly affairs. "The esteemed master is perceptive. Indeed, I have several matters to request." The Fire Emperor's eyes gleamed with intent. "Please, do elaborate." "I wish to honor the esteemed master as a High Minister of the Fire Nation." Upon uttering this, the Fire Emperor fell into silence. He had approached this matter with a tentative attitude. If this did not work, he would propose something else. Without a moment's thought, Ji Xian rejected the idea outright. As expected, the Fire Emperor sighed inwardly. "Then, may I request that you accept Mei Nyang as your disciple? It is said that she possesses a rare spiritual body, exceptional in her cultivation aptitude." Ji Xian internally scoffed at the Fire family's insistence on binding themselves to him in servitude. Why? The spirit essence body is indeed a rare cultivation constitution. With the proper methods, its potential for rapid advancement is undeniable. However, the Fire Sovereign is perplexed. Her spirit essence has long been damaged, existing in a state far from its natural form. "I have already reached my limit by opening her dantian to extend her life. There is little more I can do," replied Ji Xian. He has his own reasoning. Opening the dantian for the 19th Empress and instilling the sacred will of the Fire Path in the Fire Sovereign were acts motivated by their status as the parents of the Fire Spirit child. Were it anyone else, he would not have concerned himself with their fate. The path of cultivation is a long and arduous journey. Avoiding even a hint of worldly entanglement allows for greater refinement of one's skills. The Fire Sovereign discerned Ji Xian's intent and sighed. "If you insist on this, I shall not press further." After a moment of contemplation, he continued. "However, there still remain remnants of the Nanjiao forces within the borders of the Fire Nation. You need not worry. I shall personally eradicate them in a few days." Thank you, esteemed elder, expressed the Fire Sovereign in gratitude. This was indeed the ultimate purpose of his visit. Unless there is anything else, you may withdraw. The two of us took our leave. After the Fire Sovereign departed, Ji Xian descended from the high platform and extended his consciousness to survey the situation within the royal city. In a secluded corner of the capital, within a private residence, a strikingly beautiful woman in palace attire sat regally in the hall, gazing down upon those gathered. What news of the crown prince? One person stepped forward to respond. Your Majesty, all spies sent into the palace have gone silent. Useless, truly useless. The Empress erupted in fury. She had departed the capital to deliver jade mine resources to Tianluo City, a journey that had taken over 3 months. During this time, the crown prince had failed to send her any communication. Normally, he would report on palace affairs every fortnight. Especially given the recent events concerning the ancestors' breakthrough and the mobilization to assist Nanzhao, the crown prince should have been in closer contact. Who could have anticipated that he would remain silent for months, with no news leaking from the palace? As the covert ruler of the Nanzhao forces within the Fire Nation, she had to tread cautiously. Ah, spare me, great hero. Thud, thud, thud. A cacophony of noise erupted from outside. What is happening? The Empress exclaimed in alarm. At that moment, a young servant rushed in to report. Your Majesty, someone has barged in. The Empress's anger flared. In the midst of her fury, how dare someone come to challenge her? I must see who possesses such audacity. She summoned her inner energy, radiating a murderous aura, and strode out with determination. Yet, upon seeing the visitor, her heart jolted. In the pristine sky, a young man clad in white stood suspended, exuding an otherworldly aura, fingers forming a sword gesture, with countless strands of sword energy swirling around him. Additionally, a golden divine dragon could be faintly seen coiling around him. A streak of black sword light shot forth, and the Empress was engulfed in darkness, the world splitting into two. End of the Fire Nation chapter. Chapter 37, Tianluo City. The task of accepting disciples is refreshed. Is this Tianluo City ahead? On a spirit vessel, the Fire Spirit Child, adorned in a flowing red dress, stood at the bow. Lingyun fiddled with the map, slowly stating, it should be, right? Hearing this, the Fire Spirit Child turned and shot him an exasperated glance. What does it mean to say it should be? My esteemed junior brother, how many wrong paths have you taken in these past few months since leaving the Fire Nation? A hint of embarrassment surfaced on Ling Yun's dark visage. There is no need for further argument. The Heavenly Net City lies undeniably ahead. A flash of brilliance emerged from behind, as Ji Xian stepped out from the primordial mirror. I humbly welcome the master back from seclusion. The two simultaneously greeted Ji Xian. He waved his hand dismissively. Indeed, one is at the late stage of the Foundation establishment, and the other at the early stage. Ji Xian examined the information panels of his two disciples. System, what rewards does Ling Yun receive for his Foundation establishment? Beep. Detecting that disciple Ling Yun has broken through the Foundation establishment realm. Reward, semi-holy weapon, the Zhan Lu Sword X1, and an opportunity for profound insight into techniques. Ji Xian retrieved the Zhan Lu sword from the system space and handed it to Ling Yun. Master, is this? Ling Yun's eyes sparkled upon seeing the black longsword forged from black gold. As I have previously stated, rewards will be bestowed upon breaking through the Foundation establishment. Focus on your cultivation, Ji Xian replied. Thank you, Master. Ling Yun quickly knelt to receive the sword. It has been several months since they departed from the Fire Nation. On their journey to Heavenly Net City, Ji Xian deliberately slowed his pace, allowing his disciples to gain experience by vanquishing the remnants of demonic forces. Firelinger has advanced to the late stage of Foundation establishment, just a step away from the divine infant realm. Meanwhile, Ling Yun has also broken through the Foundation establishment. It is worth noting that they are merely in their teenage years. Ji Xian believes that with their current combat prowess, they could easily defeat a half-step into the refining spirit realm in unison. During this period, Ji Xian has also elevated his own cultivation to the 3rd level of the Cave Void realm. The spiritual vessel sped forth, gradually approaching Heavenly Net City. Among the gray area between Jin Prefecture and Nanguan, Heavenly Net City stands as the most colossal of all cities. Various factions intertwine within, primarily divided by commercial interests. The throngs of people converge from all directions, with many from Nanzhao hiding among them. Here, the jurisdiction of the 100 sects is lax, and order is chaotic. After half an hour, the spiritual vessel landed before Heavenly Net City. I never expected Heavenly Net City to be so vast, spanning over 1,000 miles, Ji Xian marveled. The Qing Yuan sect is but an ant in the shadow of such a behemoth. Upon entering the city, Ji Xian dismissed his two disciples, allowing them to venture forth on their own. Master, should we gather intelligence on that blood-harvesting site? Firelinger inquired before departing. Ji Xian nodded. He strolled alone down the bustling streets, admiring the grandeur of Heavenly Net City. At that moment, a commotion erupted from the throng ahead. A dirt-streaked, ragged child burst forth from the crowd, nearly stumbling as she rushed forward. Yet, in her haste, she regained her footing and continued to run. New disciple information detected. What? Ji Xian's tranquil heart quivered slightly. He compared the information on the system panel with the fleeing child ahead. Mo Yue, Mo Yuling, female. Ages 11 and 9. Cultivation, none. Talent, SSSS level. Physique, twin sacred body of the witch path, possessing the rare blood of the witch clan. Excelling in all methods of refining, alchemy, beast mastery, formations, and other extraordinary techniques. The note states that the mind and appearance of the holder of the Gemini sacred body will forever remain at the moment of their physical awakening, unchanging. To my astonishment, there appear to be two individuals. According to the system's annotations, these two should be eternal Lolas. As I ponder the implications, I wonder if the reward level could reach Imperial grade or even higher. But why is there only one little girl before me? Ji Xin questioned. The character displayed on the system information panel depicted two fair-skinned little Lolas, dressed in purple lotus skirts with silvery hair, petite and adorable. Yet, the girl before me was dark-skinned, her features almost indiscernible. I had no choice but to rescue her first. Ji Xin took out the primordial mirror and flashed into the crowd. The mirror's radiant light manifested, causing the little girl's form to vanish in an instant. Moments later, a group of cultivators wielding swords and blades rushed in. Where is she? Did we lose her? The leader exclaimed furiously. The others approached, their faces filled with confusion. Just moments ago, she was within sight. How could she have vanished so suddenly? At that moment, the leader noticed Ji Xin not far away, holding the primordial mirror. The mirror's ethereal glow was utterly magnificent. It was that very flash of light that caused the little girl to disappear. It must have been him. The leader, brandishing his gleaming blade, advanced aggressively. Hey, hand her over immediately. Hand over whom? Ji Xin retorted. Don't play coy with me. If you don't speak, I'll sever your arm today. A streak of gray blade light surged forth, cleaving deep gorges into the city's bluestone floor. Presumptuous. Ji Xin pointed, instantly dispersing the blade light. A powerful backlash sent the attacker and several others flying several dozen meters away, crashing to the ground, bloodied and howling in agony. Our leader is a master of the divine infant realm. How could he be subdued by a single move? One cultivator exclaimed in panic. Quickly, let us retreat and report to the president. The group hastily fled. Ji Xin made no move to pursue. They were merely a few small cultivators. Within the primordial mirror, the little girl, shrouded in darkness, curled beside a towering ancient tree, her eyes wide with fear as she surveyed her surroundings. She had just been chased by a group of ruthless individuals wielding knives, and the terror was already overwhelming. Now, finding herself in this beautiful yet unfamiliar place only intensified her anxiety. Suddenly, with a tremor in the space, Ji Xin emerged. Are you Mo Yuling or Mo Yue? Oh my, there's a ghost. The little girl jumped in fright at his sudden appearance. She rolled to her feet, brushing her silvery hair, though more accurately, it was a dark gray. When she finally beheld Ji Xian's visage, she momentarily lost her composure. What a handsome ghost. Ji Xin chuckled helplessly at her remark. As spiritual energy surged, he lifted the little girl gently. What is your name? He inquired. The girl snapped back to reality. Mo Yue, given your attire. You shouldn't be from the vicinity of Jinzhou, correct? Yes, I hail from Nanzhou. She hesitated as she mentioned the kingdom of Nanzhou, seemingly reluctant to speak further. Though she was young, she understood that a war was raging between the northern provinces of Donghuang and Nanzhou. To reveal her identity recklessly could lead to dire consequences. Ji Xin discerned her predicament and smiled reassuringly, saying, Do not fear, I shall not harm you. I wish to visit Nanzhou for leisure. Mo Yue, moved by Ji Xian's gentle demeanor, began to open up. When Ji Xian inquired if she had companions, she mentioned her sister, Ma Yuling. You mentioned that the two of you fled from Nanzhou, only to be captured by slave traders in Tianluo City. And now your sister is being prepared as a product for auction? Ji Xin queried. Yes, she diverted the villains away, allowing me to escape, but she was captured. Ma You's eyes brimmed with tears, on the verge of breaking down. Ji Xin consoled her. Do not cry. Here, take this. He then retrieved a royal-grade alchemy furnace from his spatial storage. Wow, what a delicate furnace. Ma You's eyes sparkled with delight as she accepted the alchemical apparatus. Examining it with great fascination, Ji Xin recognized that the path of craftsmanship was dear to the sisters, and thus he took them under his wing, envisioning future travels accompanied by two young companions. Next, it was time to head to the auction house Ma Yue had mentioned to seek her sister. Chapter 38. The Tianluo City auction on the bustling streets of Tianluo City. Holing Air guided Ma Yue through the lively market, while Ji Xin closely followed, absorbing the vibrant atmosphere of the human experience. With Holing Air's meticulous grooming, Ma Yue had transformed from a little beggar into a charming young princess. Adorned in a purple-red lotus dress. Master, ahead lies the Tianluo Commerce Association, Ling Yun announced as she navigated through the throng, swiftly reaching Ji Xin and the others. Ji Xin nodded in acknowledgement. Hey, Master, where did you find this child? Ling Yun inquired. Holing Air shot her a glare and retorted, some questions are better left unasked. This is Master S' private matter. Oh, I see now, my apologies. I have yet to meet your family. Master, Ling Yun chuckled innocently. Ji Xin was left speechless. Ling Yun playfully pinched Ma You's rosy cheeks, exclaiming, This little girl resembles Master, being so fair. After a light-hearted exchange, They arrived at the entrance of the Tianluo Commerce Association. What a magnificent establishment! Ling Yun gazed in awe at the colossal structure resembling a small city, marveling at its grandeur. Pulling Air concurred. This is much larger than my own palace. Such arrogance. Where do these bumpkins come from? Move aside. A group of attendants from the Tianluo Commerce Association surged forth, dispersing the crowd and advancing in a specific direction. The crowd stirred as a scholarly gentleman in a robe emerged, flanked by the attendants. Young Lord Yu Tian, what brings you here today? One attendant asked with a sycophantic smile. The young lord waved his folding fan, stating, I have heard that today's auction features numerous rare treasures, including Nanjiao slaves as items for bidding. I merely wish to broaden my horizons and partake. The young attendant, flanked by admirers, exclaimed, Ah, young lord of the city, you have finally arrived. Today, our esteemed leader has several treasures to showcase. Please follow me this way. Ling Yun felt a surge of displeasure. Though he could endure insults directed at himself, today his master and senior sister were present, and this person's rudeness made him yearn to strike him down with a single sword. He cast a disdainful glance toward Yu Tian, remarking, Not even half as handsome as my master. A pig's nose adorned with green onions. What a farce. Yu Tian, noticing Ling Yun's gaze, turned his attention in that direction. He briefly surveyed Ling Yun before shifting his focus to Ji Xian and the others behind. Upon spotting Mo Wei, a spark of intense, greedy desire flashed in his eyes. But it was quickly suppressed. Ji Xian narrowed his eyes, pondering, could this fellow be a bronze alchemist? Yu Tian approached with a semblance of a smile. Appearing congenial and approachable, he bypassed Ling Yun and stood before Mo Wei, scrutinizing her from head to toe. Ah, what a delicate visage, those silken stockings, those slender legs. After a moment of fantasizing, he leaned forward as if to grasp Mo Wei's petite hand. At that moment, Ji Xian's icy voice interrupted him. Who are you? Yu Tian looked up at Ji Xian, his heart sinking. Why is this person even more handsome than I? Regaining his composure, Yu Tian smirked at Ji Xian and replied slowly, I am Yu Tian, the young lord of Tianluo City. And you, what relation do you have to this young lady? Do your eyes reside on your backside? Ling Yun stepped forward and seized Yu Tian firmly. Yu Tian, caught in Ling Yun's grasp, felt a wave of displeasure. How dare anyone provoke him in Tianluo City? He had just stepped into the realm of the divine infant. However, Yu Tian was astonished to discover that he could not exert an ounce of strength beneath the grip of this dark-skinned man. Even the true energy within his dantian ceased to stir. In that moment, he felt as if he had become an ordinary mortal, his aura merely at the initial stage of core formation. How could a mere core formation initiate handle a divine infant, as if he were a chick? Anger surged within him. Do you know who I am? I am the young lord of Tianluo City. Yu Tian barked. If you wish to live, step aside. You are obstructing my path. At this juncture, Ji Xian spoke coolly, you ought to know your place. Hearing the provocation from beside him, Yu Tian drew his sword to strike Ji Xian. Yet, upon meeting Ji Xian's profound gaze, he was momentarily entranced. In that instant, the world spun, and light faded, as if he had plunged into a boundless abyss. Within the depths of this abyss, flames roared, and fire phoenixes soared. Suddenly, Yu Tian jolted back to reality. His senses heightened. This person was terrifying. His aura transcended anything he could withstand. Had he encountered a fully realized divine infant cultivator? Yu Tian's heart raced. At that moment, a portly gentleman clad in luxurious garments emerged from the Merchant Association. He was the overseer of the Tianluo Trading Company. Oh dear, my young lord. Why are you still lingering outside? Your VIP seating has been prepared, and if you delay, the tea will grow cold. Your esteemed status should not be mingled with these common folk. The overseer approached and enveloped Yu Tian in a friendly embrace, guiding him inside. As they departed, he cast a glance back, subtly imprinting the figures of Ji Xian and his companions in his memory, daring to confront the esteemed guests of the Tianluo Chamber of Commerce. Could he expect any favorable outcome? Yet, upon seeing the young girl in purple by Ji Xian's side, a tremor of recognition surged within him. How strikingly similar she was to the girl they had lost yesterday. No time to lose. He must report this to the president immediately. With that thought, he hurriedly wrapped his arm around Yu Tian and strode inward. Throughout the journey, his mind wandered, seemingly preoccupied with something significant. In secret, he communicated with the guards of the chamber, instructing them to keep a vigilant watch over the few individuals at the entrance. Standing at the doorway, Ling Yun fumed, Master, may I dispatch him without hesitation? Ji Xian chuckled. Do as you please, it would be best to castrate him. Indeed, such a person deserves it, doesn't he? What did you just say, Master? Ling Yun recalled Ji Xian's words, feeling a sudden chill in his lower body. He had not anticipated that his usually gentle and courteous master could be so merciless, even more so than himself. While he merely contemplated a form of redemption for Yu Tian, it seemed his master wished for him to suffer far worse. Is this what they call a scheming disposition? After paying the entrance fee, the group ventured further inside. During their passage, Ji Xian sensed several prying consciousnesses and effortlessly dispelled them one by one. Upon entering the auction hall, they took their seats in an orderly manner. Ji Xian gazed at the vacant auction stage with a flicker of anticipation. This marked his inaugural participation in such a commercial event. With a mere sweep of his consciousness, he discerned all the auction items in the backstage. Apart from Mo Yoei's sister, Mo Yuling, he discovered another item of significance. It is said that fire counters metal. I wonder how it will fare in my hands. Inside the president's chamber, he inquired of the kneeling supervisor. Is what you speak of indeed true? Absolutely, President, the supervisor affirmed. That is the girl we lost yesterday. And the man in white beside her is the one who attacked our people. A glint of cold light flashed in the president's eyes. To dare to wreak havoc on my territory in Tianluo City, they should be prepared to meet their demise. Chapter 39. The Auction Turmoil Clang. The small hammer struck gently against the auction podium. The auction is now commencing, announced the host. The first item for bid is a 5th-tier Thunder Talisman, with a starting price of 1,000 low-grade spirit stones. Each subsequent bid must increase by no less than 100 spirit stones. 1,003, 1,005, 2,000. The initial rounds of bidding featured various yellow and mysterious grade artifacts and rare materials, failing to capture the interest of the audience. The 9th item presented was the Rainbow Sword, classified as a mid-tier Earth-grade weapon, starting at 500,000 low-grade spirit stones, with each bid requiring a minimum increase of 50,000. A sword shimmering in iridescent colors was displayed on the podium, illuminated by light, radiating a breathtaking array of hues. Upon seeing this treasure, Yu Tian could no longer remain seated. He had long coveted this Earth-grade rainbow sword, and it was among the most desired items of this auction. Should he acquire this sword, his combat prowess would undoubtedly ascend to new heights, perhaps even allowing him to rival that enigmatic man in white. 550,000, 600,000, 650,000, 800,000. Yu Tian rose, calling out fervently. Those who initially intended to participate in the bidding found their spirits dampened upon hearing Yu Tian's offer. No one wished to incur the wrath of the young lord. Yu Tian, over a mere exquisite sword. In Tianluo City, the lord's estate held unrivaled power. Within its walls resided numerous cultivators of the divine refinement realm, ensuring the long-standing stability of this gray zone. A profound silence enveloped the venue, as no one dared to raise their bids any longer. 800,000 once. 800,000 twice. 800,000 thrice. I bid 1 million low-grade spirit stones. A voice rang out from the left side of the hall. The crowd turned to see a man with dark skin and keen, hawk-like eyes, boldly raising his paddle. Who is this audacious individual daring to contest with the young lord? Truly, one must be tired of living. The young lord is known for his severe demeanor. How could this man lack such discernment? With that appearance, he clearly must be making a foolish offer. Where did this country bumpkin come from? Unperturbed by the murmurs around him, Ling Yun stood tall, his chest puffed out. This action was not directed by his master. Rather, it stemmed solely from his personal disdain for Yu Tian. Over the past 6 months, his master had generously provided them with spirit stones, amounting to several million low-grade stones. Not to mention a significant supply of medium and high-grade stones as well, with a ratio of 100, 1,000. Seeing Ling Yun rise to bid against him, Yu Tian's face contorted with rage. You insolent boy, how dare you challenge me? I refuse to believe you can outmatch the financial might of my estate. 1,050,000, 1,100,000, 1,200,000, 1,500,000, 1,600,000, 2 million. Ling Yun pressed on, his face reddening with determination. Clang, clang, clang. The sound of the gavel echoed throughout the hall. 2 million. Is there any further bidding? If not, we shall conclude the auction. The host exclaimed excitedly. In the auction, should one party's bid exceed the final price by 3 times or more, they could skip the final confirmations and secure the item immediately. Yu Tian's expression darkened as he glared at Ling Yun. No, he had to persist. The young lord's reputation could not be tarnished. 2,100,000. 3 million. Ling Yun called out. Sold. The host disregarded the questioning phase entirely. The final auction price for the neon sword far exceeded Yu Tian's expectations. As for the rules, he could not help but concede. He had offered far too much. Ling Yun arched an eyebrow in Yu Tian's direction. Yu Tian's hand, clutching the armrest, trembled uncontrollably. He was seething with rage. This boy must pay dearly for his insolence. Suddenly, a dark wind surged, and a figure appeared beside Yu Tian. I have met with the young lord. My subordinates were delayed due to official business. The man in the black robe stated. Noticing Yu Tian's foul mood, he inquired, might I ask if the young lord has encountered any interference during the bidding? Yu Tian explained the situation, his emotions boiling over like a volcano on the brink of eruption. The black-robed man cast a knowing glance toward Ling Yun. Do not be alarmed, young lord. I have brought additional spirit stones with me. For the remaining items, feel free to raise the bids as you see fit. After the auction concludes, my subordinate will personally handle those individuals. Upon hearing this, Yu Tian felt a slight easing of his mood. The person accompanying him was a guard assigned by his father, possessing significant strength at the peak of the divine infant realm. They must not be allowed to escape. The next item for bidding is the Earth-grade golden essence. This substance, a culmination of spiritual essence from the Earth gold mines, holds considerable trading value for cultivating metal-based techniques and enhancing one's cultivation. The starting bid is 1 million low-grade spirit stones, with each increment not less than 100,000 spirit stones. Yu Tian's eyes lit up. A treasure with a metal attribute? Is it not precisely such a rare gem that he requires to aid in his practice of the golden grasping Tillispear? 110,000 spirit stones. 120,000. 130,000. 2 million. The figure in the black robe understood the young lord's intent and began to raise the bid. The crowd fell into silence once more. Who would dare to question the young lord once he raised the price? At that moment, they sighed, lamenting another treasure slipping through their fingers. Reflecting on this, the scene where Ling Yun had just confronted Yu Tian oddly brought them a sense of satisfaction. Young hero, you must take action again. 3 million. A calm voice resonated from the back left of the hall. Everyone turned to see a young man in white, quietly seated, gazing steadily at the golden essence on the stage. Who is this distinguished individual? Is this another figure akin to the Black Wuchang? Yet, this gentleman is truly handsome. He is indeed with the previous black-clad young hero. It is no wonder he possesses such boldness to confront the young lord. A chivalrous spirit. Truly remarkable. The crowd buzzed with conversation, many female cultivators gazing dreamily at Ji Xian. Such a handsome visage. Why had they not noticed him upon his entrance? Unbeknownst to them, Ji Xian had deliberately concealed his presence. Had he not chosen to stand and bid at this moment, no one in the hall would have detected his presence. Who does this fellow think he is? Yu Tian muttered in frustration. Why has my status as the young lord failed me today? Wait. Isn't he the one who held that little girl's hand? How infuriating. All eyes are on him, and no one is admiring my glory. I despise those more handsome than myself. Yu Tian frowned, his thoughts racing. Urgently, he urged the figure in black beside him to raise the bid. 5 million. The figure in black raised the bid again, catching some attention. Truly, the Lord's residence is affluent and extravagant. Indeed, many exclaimed in astonishment. Ji Xian cast a sidelong glance at Yu Tian from afar, and upon hearing the murmurs of the crowd, a plan seemed to form in his mind. A smirk gracing his lips. 10 million. As soon as he spoke, the atmosphere in the room shifted dramatically. Someone immediately stood up and shouted, "Holy cow, a tycoon." The sound of the gavel echoed through the spacious auction hall, filled with the excited strikes of the host. Ji Xian stood with his hands clasped behind his back, his imposing figure tall and upright, meticulously observing the golden essence on the auction stage. Alas, the grade is too low. Perhaps it would be better to gift it to Hualing for refinement later. Subsequently, he became acutely aware of the astonished gazes directed at him from the audience, particularly from several esteemed young ladies whose eyes bore a mixture of fervor and artifice. Was it truly such a remarkable feat to acquire a piece of low-grade land for 10 million spirit stones? Ji Xian was taken aback. Congratulations to this buyer for successfully bidding on the low-grade gold essence. The host exclaimed joyously. Indeed, the financial gain from this transaction would be substantial. In the distance, Yu Tian's gaze towards Ji Xian grew increasingly peculiar. Spending 10 million low-grade spirit stones on a low-grade item? Is he foolish or simply affluent? Who exactly is this person? I have not heard of such a figure in Tianluo City, Yu Tian murmured. He then turned to the cloaked figure beside him and instructed. Investigate this individual and uncover his background. Understood, the man in black replied. A wisp of divine consciousness surged towards Ji Xian. Both Hualinger and Ling Yun, standing beside Ji Xian, instantly sensed the probing presence and simultaneously stood, pointing a finger to disperse the divine wisp. The cloaked figure narrowed his eyes. These two are at the core formation stage. They have thwarted my divine sense, which is at the perfected nascent soul level. Are they even human? What is the situation? Yu Tian inquired. The cloaked figure replied with a hint of frustration. Young city master, there is something amiss with these individuals. After the auction concludes, I shall inform the president here to address the matter together. Yu Tian nodded knowingly. He realized that the dark-skinned man had suppressed him with core formation prowess at the entrance, which was highly unusual. Next, the auction transitioned to the segment featuring living creatures. The logistics team began to bring forth a series of living specimens. A mesmerizing woman with a serpent's body slithered gracefully across the floor, captivating all who beheld her. There were also insect-like beings bearing human features, shackled by chains. To Ji Xian's astonishment, there was even a creature with the upper body of a human woman and the lower body resembling that of an octopus. He recalled that such beings, which did not exist in his world, were likely utilized as slaves. The eastern wilderness inhabitants should not find this so peculiar. However, he soon realized the extent of his misjudgment. In this living creature auction, successful bidders could pay on the spot and take their acquisitions immediately, without the need for back-end processing. The crowd below became frenzied, clamoring to snatch the alien beings from the stage, with some even resorting to violence. Old Wang, don't you fancy that fiery spirit, Lady Ji? You can keep that female serpent. Just don't contest me for this large insect. One participant said, stroking the insect woman's face with evident affection. The scene descended into chaos. Eventually, the last item was presented, the octopus-like female alien. She was won by a young female cultivator in her 20s, who blushed deeply as she hurriedly embraced her prize and dashed out of the venue, drawing the attention of the crowd. Ji Xian's previously tranquil heart had begun to stir with unease. The final item of the auction was announced, a man from Nanzhao. The host declared. The audience erupted in curses. How can a Nanzhao person participate in the bidding? I must see what this so-called demon looks like. I hope I don't win him. Otherwise, I shall torment him to no end. In the realm of Tianluo City, an unyielding enmity with Nanzhao persists. The warfare instigated by Nanzhao has cast an indelible shadow over the northern provinces, inciting widespread loathing among the populace. The supervising official chuckled ruefully, inviting all to behold the spectacle. Suddenly, a chain was drawn forth from the auction, at the end of which walked a young girl with quiet grace. She donned a cerulean glass skirt, her silvery hair fashioned into two cascading ponytails, one on either side. She appeared quite youthful, exuding a delicate charm that captivated the onlookers. By the heavens! White hair! My goodness, twin ponytails! A young lady just to my taste. The crowd erupted into a cacophony, their previous vitriol replaced by fervent excitement. Ji Xian remarked, perhaps it would be best for Tianluo City to meet its demise. At that moment, his primordial mirror reacted. Upon probing with his consciousness, he discerned that Mo Yue was anxiously awaiting something. Upon seeing Ji Xian enter the inner space, she hurried forward. Big brother, that is my sister. Please save her. She is my only family. I implore you. Tears glistened in Mo Yue's eyes, clearly having wept upon sighting Mo Yuling. Ji Xian felt a pang of sorrow, his heart aching at the sight. After all, she was soon to become his disciple. He bent down to wipe away her tears, smiling gently. Promise me. After I rescue your sister, both of you will become my students. This way, you shall always remain by my side, yes? Mo Yue nodded solemnly. After assuring her, Ji Xian returned his consciousness to reality. The tumultuous crowd below continued their raucous chatter. At this moment, the auctioneer struck a small wooden mallet, announcing, the final item for bidding, an essential for cultivators, a budding maiden from Nanzhao. The starting bid is 5 million spirit stones. Each subsequent bid must exceed 50,000 spirit stones. Upon hearing this price, the previously boisterous hall fell into a hushed silence. 5 million low-grade spirit stones, indeed. That could procure a prime property in Tianluo City. While the maiden was alluring, prudence with one's finances was paramount, many lamented. Seated in the hall, Yu Tian gazed at Mo Yuling on stage, his eyes glimmering with desire, nearly drooling at the sight. This girl bore an uncanny resemblance to one he had encountered at the entrance. He could not afford to miss this opportunity. He must possess her. He instructed a companion nearby, quickly place a bid. 7 million. 8 million. Ji Xian countered with a continued increase. 10 million. Yu Tian bellowed. The voice of the figure in black beside him was too deep to convey his excitement adequately. Having already assessed their resources, the duo possessed a total of 30 million low-grade spirit stones. They were determined to acquire her. Silence enveloped the hall. The sound of bidding ceased. Many cast envious glances at Yu Tian. Young lord, you possesses such wealth. Securing this gem, he shall have no regrets in life. Truly, the city lord's estate was formidable. Yu Tian shot a sidelong glance towards Ji Xian, his gaze rife with disdain. You think you can compete with my family's resources? That meager low-grade golden essence must have nearly depleted your coffers. You are still quite inexperienced to challenge the might of the city lord's estate. Upon noticing the situation unfolding in the auction hall, the host prepared to strike the wooden hammer. If no further bids were placed, the last item of the auction would soon be sold. Just a moment, Ji Xian rose from his seat. I bid 1 million. The crowd below was taken aback, including Yu Tian, who was equally bewildered. Is this person not in his right mind? I clearly raised the bid to 10 million, and he has returned to 1 million, which is evidently below the starting price. Has he lost his senses? Yu Tian scoffed. The host momentarily paused, then politely replied. Esteemed sir, our starting bid is 5 million, and it has already reached 10 million. You cannot bid lower than the starting price. If there are no objections, the item will be finalized. Ji Xian shook his head in response. You have misunderstood my intent. I indeed bid 1 million, but I meant 1 million middle-grade spirit stones. Upon hearing this, the crowd ceased their discussions, their minds racing to calculate the exchange rate between middle-grade and low-grade spirit stones. What? 1 million middle-grade spirit stones? Finally, someone grasped the magnitude of the declaration. That amounts to an entire 100 million low-grade spirit stones. The hall erupted in astonishment. Chapter 41. Awe-inspiring 100 million, a sum that could never be exhausted in a lifetime. The host on stage wore a look of utter disbelief, gesturing animatedly. Yu Tian stood frozen in shock, repeatedly slapping his own face. How is this possible? Who in Tianluo City could possibly produce 100 million at once? This is no small feat. The total tax revenue of the city lord's mansion in a year is barely over 300 million. Ji Xian and his companions approached the stage to claim their prize under Yu Tian's bewildered gaze. The moment Mo Yuling caught sight of Ji Xian, she was filled with a mixture of surprise and joy, astonished that he dared to challenge the powerful and pay such a high price to acquire her, yet relieved to see no hint of desire in his eyes. The other bidders, upon first seeing her, were filled with longing, as if they wished to devour her on the spot. In contrast, Ji Xian's gaze remained calm, his demeanor elegant and unworldly, his appearance also quite pleasing. Before long, Ji Xian stood before Mo Yuling. He reached out a hand to gently stroke her head, signaling her not to be afraid, and conveyed his intentions. What? Big brother? Are you saying my sister is in your possession? Mo Yuling exclaimed. She is currently resting within my spatial treasure. You shall see her shortly. With me, Ji Xian, around. You need not fear fleeing any longer. Wherever you wish to go, you may do so. His words exuded a sense of security, bringing comfort to Mo Yuling. Thank you, big brother. Soon, I will have to address you differently. Ji Xian smiled, slightly pursing his lips. Huh. Mo Yuling seemed puzzled. Ji Xian did not respond, but instead led the group backstage to collect the gold essence. From his seat, Yu Tian observed the intimate exchange between Ji Xian and Mo Yuling, his eyes burning with jealousy and fury. This person must die. As Ji Xian and his companions made their way halfway, several figures clad in full armor appeared behind them. Ling Yun was the first to sense danger, rushing forward with the intent to strike. Ji Xian shook his head, signaling him to wait. Upon arriving at the treasure retrieval site, Ji Xian completed the necessary transactions, after which the massive door at the rear slammed shut with a resounding thud. From a corner of the room, another door swung open, revealing a portly middle-aged man. Dressed in luxurious purple and gold satin, he wore a palm-sized jade pendant at his waist, and the flesh on his face was creased with several deep lines, presenting a quintessential merchant's appearance. Simultaneously, a throng of fully armed cultivators surged forward, their blades gleaming with a cold light, producing a clanging sound as they moved. Yu Tian and the black-robed figure followed suit, exuding an aura of lethal intent. The atmosphere within the room grew eerily silent, thick with a sense of impending violence. Ji Xian broke the silence, addressing the rotund man. I presume you are the president of this merchant association. I demand to know your intentions. The corpulent president chuckled softly. Such bravado, my friend. Even the leaders of the 100 sects, those formidable cultivators of the refining spirit realm, do not dare to refer to themselves in such a manner. Why do you presume to elevate yourself? He continued. It has come to my attention that you forcibly abducted one of our women and injured our people. Is this true? And what if it is? Ji Xian retorted with a cold smile. Do you have any idea who you are provoking? The president thundered, his imposing presence suddenly radiating outward, causing the furniture in the room to splinter. Yu Tian, feeling the weight of that pressure, trembled, stuttering. How terrifying. Is this the might of a refining spirit expert? The man in the black robe struggled to withstand the oppressive force as well. The president was not merely demonstrating his power to Ji Xian and his companions. He was also sending a message to the Lord's manor behind the young city lord, making it clear that no one could act recklessly within the Tian Luo Merchant Association. President, you must act swiftly to eliminate this individual. His origins are dubious, and he carries immense wealth. I suspect he is connected to forces beyond our realm. Yu Tian continued to embellish the situation, his gaze lingering on Mo Yuling's legs. Oh, the president regarded Ji Xian with renewed interest. He had indeed never encountered such a figure in Tian Luo City. However, anyone carrying wealth in the billions could not be an ordinary person. With this thought, a glint of shrewdness sparkled in the president's eyes. Here's the deal. Surrender all your spirit stones and hand over both women, and I shall grant you a chance to escape. What say you? Yu Tian exchanged a knowing glance with the president, understanding his ulterior motive. What they did not anticipate was Ji Xian's continued nonchalance, even taking a moment to groom Mo Yuling's hair. Meanwhile, the woman in the fiery red gown and the dark-skinned man engaged in a debate about swordsmanship right there in the room. Prepare yourself. The scene may turn quite bloody. You might want to close your eyes, Ji Xian remarked. Mo Yuling nodded in compliance. Having wandered through the southern gates for several months and witnessed numerous life and death situations, she had become desensitized to bloodshed. Yet, out of respect for Ji Xian's command, she complied. The president scoffed. You won't shed a tear until you see the coffin. Attack. With that, the cultivators surged forward in a dark wave. Yu Tian stood by, eager to witness the moment when the man in white would kneel in supplication and the fate of the black donkey would unfold. In Tian Luo City, anyone who opposed him was destined to perish. The Chamber of Commerce is indeed a commendable institution, yet its path has grown narrow. Let us take action. Ji Xian rose. Speaking softly, Hua Linger and Ling Yun had long awaited this moment. At his command, they shot forth like tightly drawn arrows, launching an assault on the cultivators behind them. The azure flames and the shadow of the black sword danced in a duality of destruction, accompanied by a cacophony of anguished cries. Before the president could comprehend the situation, his dispatched cultivators were nearly annihilated. The president's pupils constricted. Not even 10 breaths had passed since his order was given, and already hundreds lay dead behind him. In that moment, Ji Xian declared, for your disloyalty to humanity and your betrayal of commerce, you deserve to perish. Infuriated, the president retorted, who do you think you are to speak to me in such a manner? In Tian Luo City, with the city lord absent, who dares to challenge me? Ji Xian maintained a serene gaze, his eyes ablaze with an inner fire. The president, meeting his stare, felt as though he were peering into a chasm filled with despair. When you gaze into the abyss also gazes back at you, Ji Xian remarked coolly. He had already decreed the death sentence for this cunning merchant. Bang, bang, bang. The president's heartbeat accelerated exponentially, his hand clutching his chest as he gasped for breath. Merely a shared glance had thrown him into disarray, his vital energy dissipating. Subsequently, Ji Xian unleashed the full force of his cultivation, pressing down upon the president without restraint. Crack! The president seemed to succumb to an overwhelming pressure, his knees crashing to the ground, deeply indenting the floor. Pardon me, esteemed senior. I acknowledge my lowly vision. I beseech you, spare my life. The president hastily knelt, pleading for mercy. Meanwhile, Yu Tian stood by, utterly dumbfounded. What on earth was happening? I have declared that you must die? Ji Xian pointed decisively, and the president's body exploded violently, blood splattering against the walls, chunks of flesh littering the ground. The scene was overwhelmingly gruesome. Yu Tian felt a suffocating weight in his chest, a manifestation of pure terror. In the next moment, he sensed Ji Xian's formidable aura targeting him. You cannot kill me. My father is the lord of Tianluo City. He has the backing of the Southern. Southern what? Ji Xian's eyes blazed with intensity. Yu Tian realized he had let slip a crucial detail and was engulfed in panic. Yet, his gaze remained fixated on Mo Yuling. I will tell you everything. Just don't kill me. Ji Xian waved his hand dismissively. Rest assured, I shall not take your life. With that, he pointed again, sending a piercing sword energy towards Yu Tian's lower regions. A blood-curdling scream echoed throughout the entire Chamber of Commerce. Ji Xian and his companions departed with composure. Ji Xian, I will make certain my father avenges me. Yu Tian's voice reverberated through the corridor, followed by another wretched scream. Ling Yun, upon hearing this, instinctively recoiled and covered himself. Chapter 42, Successful Recruitment of Disciples. System update. In a suite of an inn, the two sisters embraced each other, weeping. Though they had been apart for merely a few days, it felt as though they had not seen each other for years. Creak. The door to the suite swung open, and Ji Xian stepped inside. The sisters rose in unison to greet him. Do you remember what I once said? Ji Xian smiled. Indeed, Mo Yuling nodded in response. She tugged at Mo Yue's hem, pulling her down to kneel. Disciple Mo Yuling. Disciple Mo Yue. Greetings, master. Ding. The host has successfully accepted disciples Mo Yuling and Mo Yue. Reward. Imperial Grade Technique Witchcraft Heavenly Craft Classic. Heavenly Craft Classic? Is it related to manufacturing? Ji Xian pondered. Response to the host. Witchcraft Heavenly Craft Classic encompasses all aspects of crafting, including weapon forging, talisman crafting, alchemy, medicine production, beast taming, and array formation. A single opportunity for enlightenment through this technique is granted. Witchcraft Heavenly Craft Classic is currently being cultivated. In an instant, countless insights regarding craftsmanship flooded Ji Xian's mind. Training complete. To Ji Xian's surprise, this Heavenly Craft Classic not only pertained to the experiences of crafting objects, but also subtly contained an understanding of the path of creation. The Great Tao consists of 50. Heaven manifests 49, leaving 1. Creation, which signifies the evolution and manifestation of existence, is vaguely reflected within the Heavenly Craft Classic. This principle encompasses a vast realm, related to the laws of the universe and the cycle of life and death. Should a cultivator reach a certain level in the path of creation, they could conjure objects from thin air or even resurrect the deceased. Such acts would represent an intervention in the rules of the universe. Ji Xian felt an abundance of principles coursing through him. With a mere flick of his finger, a sharp iron sword materialized out of nowhere. This sword had not undergone the processes of casting, refining, or cooling, but had emerged through the path of creation. Ji Xian attempted several more times, only to be astonished to find he could not manifest new life, revealing a limitation. Still imperfect, he murmured. Ding. System function updated successfully. You have updates? The system mentioned that upon accepting 3 disciples, an update would occur. Ji Xian recalled this and acknowledged its truth. Tell me about the new features. The disciple training function is now available. Details. The host, upon system confirmation, can send disciples out for training. During this period, the cultivation, insights, and wealth gained by the disciples can be returned to the host at a certain ratio. The host can also summon the disciples back at any time, forcibly ending their training. This includes a disciple status bar function, allowing the host to view the status and events of the disciples through the system panel, and communicate with them regardless of distance or spatial constraints. Wow, this is so extraordinary, resembling those idle mini-games. Ji Xian recalled the advertisements from his past life. Daoist 15 dogs, dominating the entire region. Big brother, what a joke. Yet upon clicking, it was all idle games gathering resources. The system's idle treasure collection feature bore a striking resemblance to that. At that moment, Ling Yun and Hua Linger entered through the door. Ji Xian waved at them, saying, Come. From today onwards, these 2 will be your junior sisters. Ling Yun looked at Hua Linger in astonishment. Sister, didn't you tell me they were the master's illegitimate children? Hua Linger burst into laughter. She quickly changed the subject. Master, what path do the 2 junior sisters practice? Ji Xian examined their appearances. The path of cuteness. Ling Yun scratched her head. What exactly is the path of cuteness? Is it akin to the sword path, part of the 3,000 great paths? Ji Xian nodded solemnly before speaking. This path is remarkably unique and can only be cultivated with the assistance of the master. Therefore, The two of you must remain by my side henceforth. Huolinger, with her sparkling eyes and exceptional intellect, discerned the implication behind Ji Xian's words. Master, do you bestow upon us a task? To be precise, it is not a task, but an opportunity for tempering. In this tumultuous land of Nanzhao, where myriad forces engage in covert conflicts, it presents a splendid environment for both of you to hone your skills. With that, Ji Xian retrieved several items from the spatial realm, a wooden box, a piece of golden essence, and 2 jade pendants. Master, what are these? Huolinger inquired. Ji Xian handed the golden essence to her, stating, this essence will greatly aid you in cultivating your fire eye. Upon receiving it, Huolinger was met with a notification. Ding! Detected that host has gifted Earth-grade golden essence X1, triggering a return of 137,000 times. You have obtained quasi-imperial grade 3 tribulations sacred gold X1. Ji Xian mused to himself. With this, I can finally refine my fire eye to greater heights. He then presented the small wooden box to Ling Yun. This contains a fragment of my imperial sword intent. Contemplate it earnestly. Another notification emerged. Ding! Detected that host has gifted quasi-imperial grade sword intent, triggering a return of 21,000 times. You have obtained the true intent of Ascension Diagram X1. Ji Xian was astonished at the mention of Ascension. It surely hinted at something celestial. However, he could not dwell on it further, as there were still matters to address. With a flourish of sword intent and flames, he handed the jade pendants to the 2 disciples. These pendants will benefit your cultivation. Take them. They accepted the gifts. In truth, the pendants concealed Ji Xian's grand Dao imprint, embedding within them the formidable powers of Ji Xian's utmost efforts. This way, his disciples would possess an additional layer of protection. Ji Xian chose not to reveal the true purpose of the pendants, allowing them to approach their trials with caution. Do you wish to initiate the trial for disciples Huolinger and Ling Yun? A system panel suddenly appeared. Yes, the trial is about to commence. After bidding farewell, Ji Xian produced the 3 tribulations sacred gold. Once fully refined, my fire eye shall undoubtedly ascend to the pinnacle, transforming into a supreme sacred eye. He took out a meditation mat and began his contemplation. Meanwhile, in the City Lord's mansion, a feast was prepared in honor of the arrival of the Alliance leader. The City Lord, seated at the head of the table, smiled as he spoke. Below, in the elegant seats, sat Fang Kuei, the leader of the 100 Sects Alliance. Fang Kuei raised his cup in response, stating, I have often heard from Chun Hong about Tianluo City's immense wealth and stability. To witness it in person is truly beyond words. To achieve such a state in this border city speaks volumes of City Lord Yu's extraordinary capabilities. The City Lord chuckled. You flatter me, Alliance leader. This banquet serves not only to celebrate your arrival, but also to commemorate Vice City Lord Chen's breakthrough into the realm of spirit refinement. A knowing glance was exchanged between the City Lord and Chen Hong, filled with unspoken significance. To the right sat the esteemed elder of the Liuguang sect, Chen Hong, who was also the Vice Alliance leader of the 100 Sects Alliance. At this moment, he exuded the aura of the realm of spirit refinement. Fang Kuei observed the smile with keen interest, pondering something in his heart. Suddenly, a soldier burst into the hall, exclaiming, Not good. The City Lord is in trouble. The City Lord furrowed his brow, demanding, What is the commotion? Speak. The soldier hurriedly replied, The young City Lord has been castrated. The City Lord's expression shifted dramatically. Is this true? If it's false, I shall strike you down. A formidable aura emanated from his seat, weighing down on the messenger soldier, rendering him unable to lift his head. It is true, the young City Lord's personal attendant brought him back, and there is blood everywhere. Who did this? Lord, you bellowed. My subordinate heard from the personal attendant that it was a man in white, the soldier continued. Chen Hong, seated below, pondered thoughtfully. Was he accompanied by a woman in a fiery dress and a very dark-skinned man? Chen Hong inquired. Indeed. Oh, do you know this person? The City Lord asked. Chen Hong took a sip of wine, responding, He is one from within the 100 clans, but he is quite arrogant and of average strength. He has committed a grave error. According to the law, he should be dealt with. The City Lord then turned his gaze to Fang Kuei. Fang Kuei nodded slightly. This individual's strength is a mystery. This opportunity allows for a test. If he is not one of the Nanzhao, it would be advantageous to forge an alliance. Fang Kuei mused internally. With Fang Kuei's consent, the City Lord finally exhaled in relief. Had Fang Kuei opposed this matter, it would have been troublesome indeed. After all, that man belonged to the 100 clans. If he were to clash with them over this incident, it would expose the secrets of Tianluo City and Nanzhao, leading to significant losses. Come, let us go to see the young City Lord. Lord, you declared. He then turned to Chen Hong, saying, Chen Hong, you shall handle matters regarding the man in white. I shall not disappoint the City Lord's expectations, Chen Hong replied. Heh, it seems fate has brought us together, Ji Xian. You had better be prepared. With that, Chen Hong departed. Fang Kuei observed the actions of the two, plunging into contemplation. Chapter 43, The Golden Eyes of Fire. The truth of the sacrifice, and the return of the transmission to break through the void realm. Inside the inn suite, Ji Xian sat in quiet meditation, his eyes tightly shut. Beside him, Mo Yuling and Mo Yue were repeatedly toying with the various artifacts presented by Ji Xian, from alchemical furnaces to talismans and array discs. The witch clan of Nanzhao, renowned for their unique bloodlines, is famed for crafting intricate artifacts. It is said that the blood of this clan possesses a peculiar amplifying power, enabling the Nanzhao people to use their blood as a medium to forge exquisite array discs, magical formations, and talismans. The two sisters, born in the royal palace, had been surrounded by various exquisite toys since childhood, yet the items Ji Xian provided were unparalleled in craftsmanship, of a quality they had never before encountered. Just as Mo Yuling and Mo Yue were competing for a golden beast manual, a resonant sound pierced the air, shattering the earlier tranquility. Ji Xian slowly opened his eyes, golden flames bursting forth from his gaze, instantly shattering the jade floor beneath him. Indeed, with just these eyes, he had already reached the pinnacle of the sacred path. Although I cannot yet wield their full power, at least beneath the sacred realm, I shall have no rivals. Ji Xian retracted the golden flames, returning his eyes to a tranquil state. In fervent whispers, he murmured about breaking illusions, harmonizing with the Tao, and transcending tribulations to attain sanctity. Master, what are you saying? Mo Yue exclaimed as she hurried over, carrying a cauldron twice her size. Ji Xian looked up to find the floor of the room cluttered with various items the two had arranged. It seems I have truly nurtured daughters, Ji Xian chuckled. You two little ones, follow me. I shall impart my teachings to you. With a flourish of his hand, he summoned a magical artifact and opened the entrance to the primordial mirror of heaven. Being in a civilian inn, Ji Xian was concerned that his impending breakthrough and replication might create an uproar, potentially devastating half the city. Within the primordial mirror, the figures of the three appeared simultaneously. Wow, it's truly beautiful, Mo Yuling exclaimed, her eyes wide with wonder at her surroundings. It was her first visit here. Mo Yue, however, appeared far more composed. The sisters did not inquire much about the teachings. Ji Xian suspected they might not even comprehend the essence of cultivation. Yet, upon scanning their dantian with his consciousness, he promptly dismissed this notion. To his astonishment, he discovered that their dantian bore traces of prior cultivation. What surprised Ji Xian further was that their dantian was shattered, yet still retained a potent sacrificial power. System, what is the meaning of this? He inquired. Returning to the host, these two were previously vessels of quantitative power. Vessels? What is quantitative power? They are the sacred bodies of the witch's path, endowed with the essence of creation, capable of withstanding the cyclical forces of the world's evolution, thus serving as vessels to bear the quantitative power. The total spiritual energy in the world is balanced and finite. Malicious cultivators, seeking to absorb more spiritual energy for their own advancement, actively create slaughter to disrupt this balance. Once the equilibrium is shattered, the heavenly Tao will naturally restore it, generating more spiritual energy. This was the very reason for the South Zhao Kingdom's initiation of war. Sacrificial power is one of the means employed. As for whom the acquired quantitative power is offered, that remains unknown. However, it is certain that a series of events orchestrated by a hidden figure is at play. Given their unique constitution, Mo Yuling and Mo Yue were naturally chosen as vessels for sacrificial refinement. Yet, it seems that some unforeseen circumstance allowed them to escape. Ji Xian proceeded to reconstruct the sisters' dantian in accordance with the teachings recorded in the witch's path heavenly art. He then began to impart his power to them. Master, do we really not need to remove our clothes? Mo Yue inquired. Mo Yuling beside her nodded in agreement, recalling how she had seen her father and the concubines together in the nude during her childhood. Ji Xian's expression darkened. After a forceful explanation, they finally understood that the master-disciple relationship differed significantly from that of a king and his concubines. Quickly, sit properly. There are no more questions, Ji Xian insisted. Adjusting their postures, the transmission of power commenced. Ji Xian placed his hands on each of them for the first time in such a manner. A warm current flowed into the lower abdomen of the sisters, where their dantian resided. Their cultivation aura began to rise steadily. First level of body refinement. Second level of body refinement. Great perfection of body refinement. Breakthrough to foundation establishment. First level of foundation establishment. Second level of foundation establishment. Great perfection of foundation establishment. Breakthrough to core formation. First level of core formation. Second level of core formation. Third level of core formation. Thud. As Ji Xian abruptly fell, his body weakened and collapsed. The two turned back to find a gaunt, dark-faced man lying behind them, his withered, creased right hand reaching out. Mo Yuling instinctively asked, "Who are you? Where have you taken our master?" "Grandpa, where has our master gone?" Mo Yue tilted her head and inquired. The old man muttered incomprehensibly about a system and the need to prolong his life. Grabbing Mo Yue's small hand, Mo Yuling hurriedly fled deeper into the hills. Simultaneously, a notification resonated. Ding, detection of host proficiency in qi refining, foundational cultivation, and the 3 minor realms of elixir formation, triggering a 50,000-fold return. Cultivation advancing to the realm of void breaking. Ji Xian's dantian began to warm, a soothing current flowing through him. Mid-stage of the void realm. Great accomplishment in the void realm. Perfection in the Void Realm. First level of the Void Breaking Realm. Second level. Third level. Fourth level. Fifth level. Sixth level. Seventh level. As his dantian gradually quieted, a sense of comfort enveloped Ji Xian, who let out a long howl. Upon looking for the Mo sisters, they had vanished. With a sweep of his consciousness, he quickly located them. Ah, that dragon egg. A thought crossed his mind, and he vanished from his spot. Perched upon a gnarled tree, Mo Yue and Mo Yuling were curiously inspecting a dragon egg that was several times larger than themselves. Under Mo Yue's gentle touch, the egg began to glow. The space trembled, and Ji Xian appeared before them. Mo Yue rushed forward and hugged Ji Xian's leg, exclaiming, "Master, you finally came. Just now, a very ugly old man tried to take us away." Tears welled up in her eyes. Ji Xian felt a twinge of embarrassment. But soon his attention was drawn to the dragon egg's transformation. Perhaps this is possible, he mused. I have 3 tasks for you too. What tasks, master? They asked eagerly. Ji Xian adopted a serious demeanor. Firstly, practice with me. Secondly, take care of this egg and do not consume it. Thirdly, study diligently. Mo Yue tilted her head, asking, what should we study? Ji Xian produced 2 tomes from thin air and tossed them to the sisters. Upon receiving them, they noted the title emblazoned on the covers, The Grand Codex of Witchcraft. Chapter 44, The Domain of Creation Beneath the Expansive Tree Canopy. Mo Yuling and Mo Yue chattered excitedly around the dragon egg. High above, Ji Xian observed them. System, replicate the inherent attributes of Mo Yuling and Mo Yue. Ding. Congratulations to the host for acquiring the Domain of Creation. The Domain of Creation serves as a progenitor of the path of creation, accumulating all sources of creation in the world. Within this domain, one can create and derive all things, as well as decompose and extinguish all things, linked to the host's cultivation level. Instantly, a vast area hundreds of feet wide materialized around Ji Xian, shrouded in ethereal mist, with colorful patterns continuously evolving, to create and extinguish all. With a flick of his finger, a towering mountain appeared before him. With a wave of his hand, the mountain once again brimmed with ethereal energy. Ji Xian aspired to bestow upon the mountain a more complete ecological system. A radiant light emerged, and indeed, numerous lively creatures appeared upon the mountain. The true energy within his dantian circulated, and these creatures transformed into various spiritual beasts, each possessing a certain level of cultivation, the highest being at the initial stage of the Void Realm. It seemed that the cultivation he could impart could not exceed his own. Could he possibly create a human? This thought suddenly crossed his mind. Ji Xian attempted again, but found that he could only manifest the basic outline and form of a human. With a loud crash, the figure dissipated on its own. System, what is the reason for this? All creations within the domain of creation are linked to the host's cultivation. The current cultivation does not meet the requirements. Ji Xian realized the truth. So be it, humans. Being the apex of all living beings and the closest to the Tao in the universe, are not so easily created. At least, not by him at this moment. Since living beings were unattainable, he turned his thoughts to inanimate objects, considering magical treasures and formations. After a series of intertwining Tao principles, numerous array discs and magical artifacts materialized out of thin air. Yet, without exception, their ranks were below the saint level. It appeared that only upon reaching the saint level himself could he create items of corresponding caliber. Suddenly, a resonant humming echoed within Ji Xian's body. Upon introspection, he discovered that the essence of the Sword God King body was stirring restlessly. Could it be that? He abruptly recalled the army of heroic spirits that had surged forth beside him when he bore the sacred thunder. He once again channeled the true intent of the Sword God King body with all his might. Swish! A series of sharp sword lights began to dance and sway erratically. Ji Xian, inspired by the appearance of the heroic spirits, began to envision their assembly. Armor, capes, cloaks, long boots, clatter. A strange movement occurred before him. Ji Xian opened his eyes to find a knight clad in armor standing before him, exactly as he had imagined. Your subordinate pays homage to the king. The heroic spirit knight knelt in reverence, emanating an aura of the refining god realm. Ji Xian was astonished to discover that this being possessed neither a dantian nor internal organs. It was entirely composed of armor, operating solely through the creative rules within itself. I never expected to assemble my own puppet army, Ji Xian murmured. What weapon should I bestow upon him? Observing the knight's empty belt, he fell into contemplation. Buzz. After a moment of reflection, a 2-foot-long weapon appeared in his hand. Ji Xian pressed a button in its center. Rat-a-tat-tat. The front of the weapon's black circular outlet erupted with flames, sending sparks flying across the metallic knight's armor. No. This knight, paired with an A47, feels too out of place in this fantastical world. Setting aside his curiosity as a being from Blue Star, Ji Xian began forging weapons. Soon, a royal-grade longsword and a royal-grade spear materialized in his hands. From now on, this shall be your weapon. Ji Xian tossed it to the heroic spirit knight. Thank you, my king. The heroic spirit knight responded, somewhat stiffly, yet Ji Xian knew it was utterly loyal. At present, it seems my limitations confine me to the creation of merely 2 or 3 knights. After another round of practice, Ji Xian gradually descended upon the treetops. As he approached the center, the radiant glow emanating from the true dragon egg suddenly intensified. The intricate Tao patterns became increasingly luminous, revealing the scriptures of the true dragon's divine arts. Could it be a result of the creation celestial domain? Ji Xian pondered thoughtfully, promptly activating the creation celestial domain. In an instant, a vast area of several hundred zhang unfolded, and indeed, upon encountering the dense rules of creation, the true dragon egg began to sway from side to side. Furthermore, the Tao patterns on its surface became ever more pronounced, as layers of old skin gradually shed away. A vibrant life force flowed continuously through the egg, hastening its incubation. Marvelous. Truly marvelous. Ji Xian rejoiced. Through this recent commotion, the true dragon egg had accelerated its hatching by over 300 years. Yet the transformations did not cease there. A plethora of Tao principles were absorbed into the egg, serving as nourishment for its forthcoming rapid incubation. This implies that within the next decade, it shall emerge. After a period of recuperation, Ji Xian, accompanied by his 2 disciples, exited the primordial heavenly mirror. The gains from this expedition were substantial. The Li Hua golden eye, the creation celestial domain, and the true dragon egg, which was now hastening its hatching. Each item brought immense joy to Ji Xian. The final treasure awaited him, the true intent of flying immortals. He unfurled a painting before him. The artwork depicted a man and a woman, both wielding swords, soaring together through the 9 heavens. The man, clad in simple garments, possessed a clear and handsome visage, while the woman, with skin like jade, exuded an otherworldly grace. They appeared almost alive, radiating vibrant life force and profound authenticity. It was indeed a true depiction of sword intent, Ji Xian mused. However, as he extended his consciousness to enter the painting, he was thwarted by an invisible force of rules. This sensation bore a striking resemblance to his experience at the Heavenly Sword Palace. Could it be due to his cultivation level? Ji Xian recalled the ancient, grand palace he had seen after traversing the river of Sword Dao. It was imbued with unparalleled sword intent, yet there existed a force of rules that repelled him. After some contemplation, Ji Xian discerned the reason. He would need to comprehend this painting at a later time. For today, this shall suffice. You 2 little ones, come here. Ji Xian called towards another room. Coming. After a clattering of sounds, the 2 sisters rushed in. What is it, master? Accompany me for a stroll. Let us explore Tianluo City, Ji Xian replied. Once they exited the inn, Ji Xian waved his hand, and a carriage along with a fearsome beast from the cave void realm materialized before them. The commotion startled the passers-by, causing them to flee in a panic. The aura of the cave void beast was too overwhelming. Ji Xian had no choice but to conceal the beast's presence and usher the 2 onto the carriage. The sisters each grasped the side of the reins, guiding the carriage towards the city center. High above, Chen Hong hovered in the air, his gaze fixed intently on the retreating silhouette of the carriage. Junior brother. Are you certain it's him? Inquired a red-haired elder beside Chen Hong. It is undoubtedly him. There can be no mistake. He has slain a high priest of Nanzhao, resulting in significant losses for my side. If not for him, this operation might remain undisclosed, Chen Hong responded. A few individuals exchanged glances and nodded, channeling their vital energy towards the carriage. Chapter 45. The might of the heroic spirit knight. The antiquated and elegant carriage glided smoothly over the cobblestone streets of the city. Inside, Ji Xian was engrossed in contemplating the newly acquired dragon treasure technique. The Mo sisters perched curiously on the carriage's yoke, observing the wares displayed at the passing stalls. Suddenly, a tremor rippled through the air. Ji Xian slowly opened his eyes, as if sensing an impending presence. You truly dare to come. Very well, let us meet. He instructed the 2 to steer the carriage to a secluded spot. Soon, they arrived at a desolate clearing, surrounded by dilapidated old houses, a place rarely visited. Imbued with a sense of desolation. With a rustling sound, divine rainbows cascaded from the heavens, hovering not far above the carriage. Ji Daoyu, it has been a long time, Chen Hong remarked coldly. Ji Xian did not alight from the carriage, but replied indifferently. What brings you here, Chen Daoyu? You have taken lives in Tianluo City, and even harmed the young city lord. As the vice city lord and vice leader of the 100 Clans Alliance, I must bring you to justice. Do not resist futilely. Those accompanying me today are all on the cusp of the divine refinement realm, experts within the 100 clans. Surrender quickly, Chen Hong proclaimed. Ha, an ant shaking a tree. You are not worthy, came Ji Xian's haughty retort from within the carriage. He then turned to instruct Mo Yue, offer them some spirit stones to send them on their way. Yes, master. Mo Yue gracefully leapt from the carriage, her movements agile and swift, running to the spot directly beneath Chen Hong and his companions. 100 each, not an insignificant sum. My master requests that you seek your fortunes elsewhere. With stealth, she retrieved a storage ring from her bulging waist pouch, raising her hand to signal them to collect the stones. The group felt humiliated. They had come to kill, yet were treated like beggars. Upon catching sight of Mo Yue, Chen Hong's pupils constricted in disbelief. How could this little girl be here? His voice was laced with astonishment. Beside him, an elderly man with red hair inquired, could she be from that side? Chen Hong nodded. Indeed, I saw her the last time I was summoned by the master. She is one of the many vessels. The red-haired elder was taken aback. How could something so crucial as a vessel end up on the Hunter clan's side? There must be unforeseen complications in Nanzhao. We cannot allow this girl to remain here any longer. If the master finds out, we shall bear the consequences. After speaking, Chen Hong slowly raised his hand and summoned a grand net. The Great Luo Sky Net. A net-like artifact woven from golden threads rapidly expanded, its golden brilliance casting a shimmering veil across half the sky. The colossal net radiated divine golden light, descending upon Moua. Suddenly, a golden screen materialized in the void. A figure appeared before Moua, clad in shimmering silver light armor, with a crimson cape billowing in the wind. A golden spear materialized in his hand in an instant. The spirit knight raised his spear, tracing a long arc towards the heavens. In an instant, a glimmer of golden light sliced through the vast net above. The next moment, the great Luo heavenly net split in two, its divine radiance dissipating, rendering it a mere scrap of a magical artifact. How is this possible? Chen Hong felt a surge of anguish. The great Luo heavenly net was a fine earth-grade magical tool, forged from the essence found within a gold mine. Who could have anticipated that it would be severed by this armored warrior before him? This individual poses a significant threat. The red-haired elder's expression turned grave. Junior brother, allow me to step forth and test him. The elder advanced, stretching his limbs, clad in a purple robe. His aura of cultivation was evidently far more stable than Chen Hong's. Chen Hong nodded. The red-haired elder was his senior brother, both serving the city of Tianluo. He had entered the realm of divine refinement a century before Chen Hong, his foundation exceedingly profound. Perhaps he could eliminate this ironclad foe. The elder slowly ascended into the air, his purple robe billowing, standing barefoot and imposing. Crimson Demon Battlefield. Upon uttering these words, a surge of crimson divine radiance erupted from the elder's body. Under the enhancement of this divine light, his physique began to swell. In mere moments, he transformed into a towering giant, several stories tall. Chen Hong's eyes sparkled with realization as he sighed. I never imagined that Master bequeathed the final chapter of the Crimson Demon technique to him before his passing. The possessor of this arcane art can enlarge their body, forcibly elevating their strength 3 to 4-fold. My brother's combat prowess must have reached the pinnacle of divine refinement. With a roar, the elder's muscles hardened, his voice echoing through the skies. His wild, red hair danced like a tempest, resembling an ancient ferocious beast from the wild mountains. Thud, thud, thud. The elder, with heavy steps, approached the spirit knight, who appeared as insignificant as an ant before his mountain-like form. Yet, fear was a foreign concept to him. He only understood the mission bestowed upon him by Ji Xian: eliminate everyone except Chen Hong. The spirit knight gazed at the approaching mountain and, deciding against using his spear, charged forward with his bare body. The earth trembled as he surged against the flying debris. A fist imbued with the essence of swordsmanship shot forth, striking the giant foot that loomed over him. Ji Xian observed intently from the rear, a faint gasp escaping his lips. To his surprise, this puppet had appropriated his Sword God King's fist technique. It seemed their abilities were intricately linked to his own combat style. Ji Xian recalled how he often preferred to fight without weapons, relying solely on brute force to shatter his opponents. Boom! With a thunderous roar, the violent shockwave stirred up dust for miles around, and countless dilapidated earthen dwellings were instantly pulverized into powder. In the center of the battlefield, the red-haired elder was unexpectedly leaning backward, teetering on the verge of collapse. The spirit knight relentlessly pursued, leaping into the air, a spear materializing in his hand. He hurled it downward with ferocity, the spear streaking through the air like a shooting star, aimed directly at the elder's brow. Watch out, senior brother. Quickly, intercept it. Chen Hong cried out. At such a distance, and with that velocity, there was no time left for him to intervene. The red-haired elder exhaled a breath of pure air, which transformed into a small green shield that extended a considerable distance. After a surge of spiritual energy, the small shield morphed into a verdant protective wall, stretching several dozen miles across the void. A heavenly grade artifact. Chen Hong gasped in astonishment. Even he possessed no such celestial treasure. Truly, his senior brother was remarkable. Clang. A resounding metallic clash echoed through the air. A vast wave of energy surged, sweeping across half the city and stirring numerous cultivators from their reverie. Look, what is that? Many exclaimed in awe. A heavenly grade artifact had manifested. Such treasures were exceedingly rare, even in the affluent Tianluo city. Crack. A sound of shattering resonated from the heavens. What on earth was that golden spear? My goodness, it pierced through the heavenly grade artifact. Boom. A plume of azure clouds ascended as the green shield was impaled by the golden spear. The red-haired elder attempted to evade, only to find himself utterly ensnared. Senior brother, Chen Hong shouted, rushing forward in a frantic attempt to rescue him. Yet the moment had passed. The spear soared into the sky, obliterating a small mountain into mere fragments. The horror was far from over. Chen Hong heard anguished cries emanating from the smoke ahead. He glanced around, realizing that his companions had vanished. Wisps of divine light flickered amidst the thick smoke, followed by piercing howls of despair. Run! At that moment, a singular thought dominated Chun Hong's mind. He had gravely underestimated Ji Xian. There was undoubtedly an extraordinary power backing Ji Xian. With a burst of divine rainbow light, Chun Hong leaped forward, covering several miles in an instant. Suddenly, swirling clouds loomed ahead, and he was struck in the abdomen by the leg whip of a spectral knight. The force of the blow sent him hurtling towards the ground like a cannonball. Boom! The earth was cratered, creating a vast pit 100 feet wide. Chun Hong struggled to maintain consciousness, laboriously rising to survey his surroundings. Before him lay a carriage, miraculously unscathed amidst the chaos of the earlier impact. Chapter 46. A slip of the tongue in the center of the 100-foot-wide pit, the carriage stood silently. The beast harnessed to it was gently licking the palm of Mo Yuling, appearing remarkably docile. Should an outsider witness this scene, they would be utterly astounded to see a creature of the void realm so obediently standing before a young girl of merely a few years. On the ground, Chun Hong gazed in horror at Ji Xian, who was descending gracefully from the carriage. Who are you? He stammered, his face a mask of fear. From the moment he had encountered Ji Xian, he had sensed an enigmatic veil shrouding him, and no amount of probing had yielded any insight. He had even investigated the Qingyuan sect behind Ji Xian, discovering it to be merely a third-rate sect. The only point of intrigue was that Ji Xian's biological parents were unknown, having been raised by his master, the revered Tai Zhenren. In essence, he was an orphan lost in the mortal realm. Yet, this singular individual, by merely dispatching a knight, had effortlessly annihilated several formidable cultivators of the divine refinement realm. To comprehend the gravity of the matter, it must be acknowledged that the prowess displayed in this battle reaches the zenith of the divine refinement realm. Ji Xian waved his hand dismissively and inquired about the relationship between Chun Hong and the Southern Zhao. Realizing the futility of escape, Chun Hong bellowed, Ji Xian, do not bask in premature triumph. Even if you have formidable forces backing you, what difference does it make? Ultimately, you cannot withstand the might of the Southern Zhao's army. You cannot fathom the true strength of the sacred realm. It is akin to a mantis attempting to stop a chariot. Stop, Ji Xian interjected, raising his hand. It is far more pleasant to hear the dead speak. At that moment, a spectral knight, having heard his words, swiftly approached. It raised its metallic boot and, akin to a colossal elephant, stamped down with tremendous force. Chun Hong's body crumpled under that immense weight, his countenance contorted in agony, as if he had endured the most excruciating blow imaginable. In but a fleeting moment, his form was obliterated, leaving behind only tattered remnants of clothing drifting in the wind. Ji Xian exclaimed, I did not instruct you to kill him. I had yet to extract his soul. The spectral knight paused, hastily retracted its step, knelt before Ji Xian, and meticulously gathered the remnants of Chun Hong's flesh, presenting them respectfully before him. Ji Xian chuckled awkwardly. I must admit, Ling Yun has proven to be quite commendable. Enough of this. Let us proceed to the city lord's mansion. The carriage gradually made its way toward the city lord's residence. Inside the mansion, Yu Tian, seated upon the bed, wept bitterly. Father, you must avenge me. My future is utterly in that man's hands. You must take action on my behalf. At that moment, Yu Tian was left with only half of his body. A physician had previously visited and recommended that the city lord amputate Yu Tian's remaining legs, as the sword energy within him was incessantly changing, coursing through his meridians unchecked. The blade's energy was of such a high caliber that the physician could not eradicate it. Without prompt amputation, Yu Tian would be left paralyzed. Reluctantly, the city lord complied. Looking upon his crippled son, a tempest of rage surged within him. Ji Xian, I shall ensure your demise to avenge my son. Just then, the soldier who had initially delivered the message at the banquet rushed in once more. What troubles you now? The city lord, feeling a surge of irritation, regarded him. The white-clad man who harmed the young master has barged in with his men. The soldier stammered, dread evident in his demeanor, fearing the city lord's wrath. Excellent. The city lord sprang to his feet, his fists clenched, producing a resounding crack. Summon all the divine refinement realm guests within the mansion. We shall confront the enemy. This time, I will ensure you do not return. Grasping his longsword, he strode forth with determination. Outside the city lord's mansion, Ji Xian stood atop the carriage, gazing at the gate he had shattered with a single blow. Why is this old fool taking so long? He mused, growing increasingly impatient. Meanwhile, he wondered where the other divine refinement realm guests had disappeared to, realizing only a few remained by his side. Lord Yu glared at the several early-stage refining spirit realm cultivators around him, seething with rage. Return to the city. They have all gone out with Deputy City Lord Chun. One of the guards reported. Damn it, all useless. Lord Yu, accompanied by the few remaining individuals, approached. Upon seeing the collapsed main gate and the distant figure of Ji Xian, his teeth clenched in fury. In that moment, he wished nothing more than to obliterate Ji Xian. Are you the Lord of Tianluo City? Ji Xian inquired. The Lord retorted angrily. You, Ji Xian, have harmed my only son. Today, I shall make you pay with your life. Ji Xian raised an eyebrow, his expression calm as he replied, enough with the theatrics. Just tell me directly what your relationship with Nanzhao is, and don't force my hand. At these words, Lord Yu's heart trembled. Was it possible that Chun Hong had met with misfortune? If not, how could Ji Xian possibly know of his ties to Nanzhao? The secret dealings between Tianluo City and Nanzhao were known only to him and a few trusted guests. Noticing Lord Yu's prolonged silence, Ji Xian continued, "Stop speculating. I indeed killed Chen Hong, but I did not learn about your secret from him." Lord Yu bit his lip tightly, the color draining from his face. "Who is it?" His tone, now markedly different, bore a hint of hope and desperation. "Your precious son," Ji Xian replied with a smile, taking the initiative to unsettle him. "Damn." Lord Yu cursed inwardly, realizing the gravity of the situation. If this secret about Nanzhao were to leak, it could cost him his life. The leader of the 100 Clans Alliance was within the estate, and there was no escaping that. In that moment,